Here on Earth, in the United States, I stared at the cafe just down the block. Grandpa, aren't you just setting me up for failure? I thought helplessly, squeezing the folded piece of paper in my pocket. That paper was a marriage contract, forged between my late grandfather and his old army buddy. Back in the day, they agreed that if their kids were a boy and a girl, they'd marry. If they were both boys, the promise would pass down to their grandkids. As fate would have it, both had sons. When it came to my generation, I was a guy, and Arthur Sterling had a granddaughter. Her name was Chloe Sterling. I'd seen her picture, and without exaggeration, she was more gorgeous than any A-list Hollywood actress. I also Googled her. The Sterling family's assets exceeded $10 billion. And that was just public record. Their actual net worth was likely much higher. She's definitely going to tear up the contract and reject me, I muttered to myself. Aren't I just walking into a humiliation trap? With my mind in a chaotic mess, I walked into the cafe. Before he passed, my grandpa gave me her number. 3 days ago, I called and asked her to meet here. Stepping inside, I simply followed the gazes of half the men in the room and instantly spotted Chloe sitting quietly in a corner. Perhaps her aura was just too intimidating, because no one had dared to approach her. I walked over. Under the shocked stares of the onlookers, I took the seat right across from her. "Hi, I'm Leo Vance," I said. "I asked you here today to talk about the marriage contract." Chloe gave a slight nod. "Go on." I pulled out the paper. "Years ago, our grandfathers were tight, and they made this pact. But times have changed." I slid it toward her. "Let's just pretend this contract never existed." I added, "Before my grandpa died, he made me promise to meet you in person to clear this up." Chloe looked at me, genuinely surprised. "You don't want to marry me?" I let out a self-deprecating laugh. "I know my place. The Sterlings are billionaires on the rise, and the Vances are just average folks. We aren't from the same world." I stood up. "Let's leave it at that. The coffee is on me." On the phone, "I told you to bring your birth certificate and social security card. Did you bring them?" Chloe asked smoothly. I nodded slightly. I assumed she wanted to help me secure a premium Seattle residency zone status as compensation, something incredibly hard to get and exactly what I needed. If she was offering to pull strings for my residency, I wasn't going to say no. With Seattle residency perks, future kids would have a much easier time with schooling. "Then let's go sign the marriage papers," Chloe stated. "Huh?" I stared at her in utter disbelief. I suspected I was having auditory hallucinations. Did she just say we were going to City Hall to get married? "What did you say?" Chloe kept her cool. "Since your grandfather and mine made this agreement, I should honor it. The Sterling family never breaks its promises." I looked at her with a weird expression. "You don't even know if I have a girlfriend, and we're going to get married right now?" Chloe offered a faint smile. "You might not know me, but I know you. You've never had a girlfriend. You've been single for 23 years. I was speechless. "Chloe, why?" I finally asked, my brows furrowed. What kind of guy couldn't she get? I was totally average. She had 10,000 reasons to reject this. Was she looking for a scapegoat dad? But with her status, countless elite guys would gladly step up. "I told you, the Sterlings keep our word," Chloe said solemnly. Seeing my hesitation, she softened her voice. "Don't worry, I'm not sick, and I'm not pregnant with someone else's child." She leaned in slightly. "And I'm not using you as a shield. After we marry, we can live together, but I won't fulfill a wife's physical duties. If we still don't have feelings for each other in 3 years, we'll quietly divorce." I breathed a sigh of relief. "That makes me feel a lot better. Are you sure you want to marry me?" If she was insisting, I wasn't going to fight it. Even if we couldn't be together romantically, waking up to a face like hers every day was a massive win. "I'm sure," Chloe nodded. We left the cafe. Getting into her Porsche, we drove to City Hall, and half an hour later, we walked out with our official marriage license. Stepping out of the building, I felt entirely dazed. I was actually married, and to a billionaire heiress, no less. "Leo, you should cancel the lease on your apartment," Chloe said as we got back into her car. "I bought a penthouse for us to use as a marital home. You can live there. I'll buy you a car for your daily commute." "You're living there too?" I asked in surprise. Chloe nodded slightly. "I'll be coming home every day. To the outside world, we are a normal married couple. You can introduce me to your friends." I turned to look at her. "What should I call you from now on? Also, since we're married, we might need to show some physical affection in front of others." Her beautiful face flushed slightly. "You can just call me Chloe. Since we're married now, simple hugs, holding hands. I won't reject it." I smiled, noticing the slight tremble in her voice. Deep down, she wasn't as unfazed as she appeared. "My rundown apartment isn't fit for you anyway, so I'll stay at your place. As for the car, forget it. I'll just take the subway," I said, leaning back and closing my eyes. I needed a moment to process this. Today felt like an absolute fever dream. Over half an hour later, the car pulled into an ultra-luxury residential complex. These 3 parking spots belong to us. When you get a car, you can park here, Chloe explained after parking. I nodded. God knows when I'd ever own a car. My bank account had a 6-digit password protecting a pathetic 4-digit balance. The building has 3 elevators for just 1 unit per floor. Elevator number 3 is specifically for the staff, Chloe introduced. I clicked my tongue in awe. Damn. My current complex had 3 units sharing 1 elevator. Rich people actually had 3 elevators for 1 apartment. It was good to have money. The elevator quickly whisked us up to the 20th floor. Come on in, Leo, Chloe said, opening the door. This penthouse is 3,800 square feet. It's not as big as a mansion, but it should be plenty of space for just the 2 of us. Walking into the apartment, I froze, staring blankly at Chloe. Hovering right above her head was a glowing silver treasure chest. As she moved, the chest moved with her. What the hell? I rubbed my eyes. The chest was still there. Leo, what's wrong? Chloe looked at me in confusion. I coughed lightly. Chloe, since it's our wedding day, how about a hug? Just so we aren't awkward about it when we're in public. Her stunning eyes locked onto me. Leo, don't try anything funny. I know mixed martial arts. Even 2 or 3 grown men wouldn't stand a chance against me. I nodded quickly. Don't worry, just a simple hug. All right then, she said, taking a deep breath. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around her. As I did, my head brushed against the silver treasure chest floating above her. Ding! Treasure chest system activated. Silver chest opened. Congratulations, host. You have obtained Grandmaster-level Martial Arts. As the chest opened, a stream of warmth flooded my body. I could feel my muscles, bones, and blood undergoing a radical transformation, while a massive amount of combat knowledge poured into my brain, making me dizzy. Chloe, which room is mine? I'm feeling a little lightheaded and need to lie down, I said, pulling away from the hug. The silver chest above her head had vanished. You can take that guest suite, it has an ensuite bathroom, she pointed out. I nodded, quickly entering the room and shutting the door. Outside, Chloe covered her face with her hands, her cheeks burning hot. She had actually just married a guy she met for the first time. And they just hugged. Calm down, she whispered to herself. It's just a marriage. No big deal. 3 years will fly by, and it's worth it to keep Grandpa happy. Her grandfather strongly supported the marriage, but her parents were fiercely opposed. They had fought multiple times over this until they finally let her make her own choice. She chose to accept it. She was 21, in 3 years, she'd only be 24. I really became a martial arts grandmaster. Inside the bedroom, I was in absolute shock. My outward appearance hadn't changed, but internally, the shift was monumental. Pure internal energy, aura, was now flowing through my veins. Boxing, grappling, sword fighting, knife combat, I had instantly mastered them all. I felt like I could easily take down 100 guys solo. That voice said the treasure chest system was activated. Did I just get a legendary cheat code? I was thrilled. System. Hey, system, I called out in my mind. But after several tries, there was zero response. My system seemed to be the silent, aloof type. That was fine with me, as long as it did its job. I preferred it over a nagging chatterbox. I wonder if I can get more chests like that, I thought, eyes gleaming with anticipation. 1 chest made me a grandmaster. If I got a few more, wouldn't I become a literal god? I've met tons of people over my 20-odd years of life, and this never happened. But the moment I touched Chloe, the system woke up. I realized, maybe I can only farm loot from her. Looks like I need to figure out how to win her over completely. Can't let my new wife get away. A faint smile crossed my lips. Chloe gave off a really good vibe. Despite being a billionaire heiress, she never acted snobby or looked down on me. Holy crap, this place is expensive, I muttered after checking the real estate prices for our building. At over $5,000 per square foot, this penthouse was easily worth over $20 million. Chloe, do you have a minute? Let's talk, I said, knocking on the master bedroom door after finding the living room empty. She opened it, looking confused. What do you want to talk about? She thought she had made everything clear. Let's chat in the living room. I turned and walked, and she followed. Chloe, I looked it up. Renting a place like this costs around $40,000 a month. I'll cover half. I'll figure out a way to get the money to you, I offered. Now that I was a grandmaster, making cash shouldn't be too hard. Chloe frowned. Leo, I bought this place in cash. There's no rent, so you don't need to pay me. I shook my head. We might be married on paper, but I know the deal. You did this so you wouldn't let your grandpa down, right? He must treat you really well. Chloe fell silent. Her grandpa was indeed amazing to her, and she couldn't bear to see him upset at his age. Think of us as roommates. It's only right I split the costs. If I work hard, I can earn it, I insisted. Chloe shook her head. You didn't need to live in a place this expensive anyway. You don't owe me rent. Just earn your own living expenses. As a man, making enough to support a family and your wife is expected anyway. I looked at her closely. It seemed she wasn't just trying to burn through the 3 years. If I proved myself, there was a real chance this could turn into a real marriage. Chloe, let's keep the marriage a secret from the public for now. We can just tell people we're boyfriend and girlfriend, I suggested. Why? She asked, puzzled. If people know we're married, they'll expect a wedding. Given our situation, throwing a wedding right now is unnecessary, I explained. Okay, Chloe nodded. It was true, a wedding right now would be highly awkward, especially since her parents would likely scowl at me the entire time. Anything else? She asked. I don't really know much about you. Since we're married, could you give me a proper introduction? I asked. Chloe smiled and nodded. Sure, I'm 21. My birthday is June 8th, so you just saved yourself a birthday gift. I skipped 2 grades in elementary, went to Stanford at 16, graduated last year, and now I run my own startup. I was amazed. She was an absolute genius. Compared to her, I felt like I seriously didn't deserve her. What kind of company? I'm not prying, but if someone asks, it'd be awkward if I didn't know, I said. It's a high-end cosmetics brand, though we don't have much industry fame yet, she chuckled. Let's exchange numbers in iMessage, I'll text you the address. I nodded, and we swapped contacts. Chloe grabbed my phone and set matching couple avatars for our profiles. Register your fingerprints on the door first, then I'll take you down to management for Face ID so you can come and go as you please, she said. Once we got to the lobby, Chloe spoke to a staff member. Hi, this is my boyfriend. Please set him up with building access. Right away, Miss Sterling. Once my biometrics were registered and we walked away, a security guard sneaked off to a quiet corner. Mr. Thorne, you told me to keep an eye on Miss Sterling. She just brought a guy down to register his face and fingerprints, the guard whispered into his phone. And she explicitly called him her boyfriend. On the other end of the line was Preston Thorne, a rich kid desperately chasing Chloe. Hearing this, he exploded. Chloe had a boyfriend? Are you sure? Preston demanded. Yes, Mr. Thorne, I'm sure. I heard her loud and clear. Back at the penthouse, Chloe tossed me her keys. Leo, I know you got your driver's license in your sophomore year. Take my car to go pack your things. I'm going to make a few dishes, and we'll eat lunch here. Try to hurry. I stared at her, shocked. A billionaire heiress like her actually cooked. What's with that look? I love making good food. Besides, today is our wedding day. It's worth cooking for, she said playfully. Alright, I'll go pack. But I'll pass on the car. I'm still a novice driver, and I don't want to scratch up your ride, I said, leaving her keys on the counter before heading out. Her car was a Porsche Panamera, easily over $100 grand. To her, it was a regular car, but to me, it was a massive liability. We weren't a real married couple yet, and I couldn't afford to fix it. Walking out of the complex, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Life was weird. Yesterday I was a corporate slave. Today I was married to Chloe Sterling and secretly a martial arts grandmaster. Mr. Thorne, I just sent you the picture. About the $500 you promised, the sneaky security guard texted after snapping my photo from afar. Are you certain it's him? His entire outfit isn't even worth $50. Preston replied, highly skeptical. He knew the Sterlings were worth billions, and Chloe was the sole heir to that empire. Why would she date a broke nobody? Her parents would never allow it. Mr. Thorne, I'm positive. I might not be educated, but my eyes work perfectly. I wouldn't dare lie to you, the guard texted back. Preston immediately wired him $1,000. Keep an eye on him. Do this right, and you'll be rewarded. Screw it up, and you're done working in Seattle. Preston zoomed in on my photo. He couldn't see anything special about me. Average clothes, slightly handsome, not even 6 feet tall. Guys like me were a dime a dozen. Is he just a decoy? Preston thought. Maybe she hired a nobody as a shield so he wouldn't get any funny ideas, making him easy to discard later. That made sense. He'd been chasing her for 3 years and had never seen her with a guy. Run a background check on someone for me. As detailed as possible, but don't tip him off, Preston instructed a private investigator he frequently used. Got it, Mr. Thorne. Standard rates apply based on difficulty, the PI replied. How do I make money? I wondered on the subway ride. I needed to quit my current $2,500 per month job. It was barely enough to feed myself, let alone support a household in Seattle. Plus, I wanted to contribute $20,000 for living expenses. Even if Chloe refused rent, covering utilities, groceries, and HOA fees wouldn't be cheap. As a grandmaster, I could easily be an elite bodyguard making six figures. But doing that would make Chloe a laughingstock, I reasoned, instantly crossing it off the list. Open a dojo? I didn't know the licensing requirements, and my skills weren't exactly easy to teach since they relied on internal energy. Without it, martial arts were just fancy dancing. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. I noticed someone live streaming on the train. Top streamers were raking in cash. As a martial artist, gaining followers would be easy. I had perfect accuracy throwing knives within 100 yards. Within 30 feet, I could probably slice the wings off a flying fly. I could do insane parkour streams. The only issue was I didn't want to be a public face. Wait, I don't need to show my face. I can wear a mask. The mystery will make it even better, I smiled. With my skills, hitting 1 million followers would be a breeze, and even without sponsorships, tips alone would pay the bills. I'll pack up today and quit my job tomorrow, I decided. After 3 subway transfers, I reached my rundown apartment in the suburbs. Leo, rent is going up $100 next month. Pay it, or pack up and leave in 2 days, my landlord, Mr. Henderson, said, stepping right out of my apartment. My face darkened. Mr. Henderson, you went into my room without permission. It's my property. What's the problem? He scoffed. I took a deep breath. I'm moving out. Give me my deposit back, and I'll clear out my stuff right now. Henderson's face fell. He wanted more money, not an empty unit that would take weeks to fill. You can leave, but there's property damage. You're not getting a dime of that deposit back, he sneered. Point out exactly what I damaged, I demanded, stepping inside. Here, and here, he pointed arbitrarily at 2 spots. I scoffed. Those spots were busted when I moved in. Mr. Henderson, you forgot this wall is broken too, I said, pointing to a perfectly intact partition wall. Boom! I threw a punch, blasting a hole straight through the concrete. How much do I owe you for this one? I asked with a sharp smile. Henderson stumbled backward, staring at me in sheer terror. I looked like a skinny nerd, but my punch was devastating. If that hit him, he'd be dead on the spot. Leo, man, that wall was already like that, Henderson stuttered, going pale. And I just remembered, those other spots were broken before you got here. Terrified, he scrambled for his phone and immediately transferred my deposit back. Smells amazing, I said, smelling the rich aroma the moment I unlocked the door. Leo, just one more side dish and we're ready to eat, Chloe called out, standing up from the sofa. I nodded, washed my hands, and walked to the dining room. A beautiful spread of food was already on the table. Chloe, your cooking is incredible. Way better than mine, I praised. I looked toward the kitchen. Seeing Chloe in an apron cooking was a lethal combination of beautiful and domestic. I couldn't tear my eyes away. If only she were truly my wife, I thought. What are you looking at? Chloe asked, turning around with a slight blush. Just watching you cook. I didn't expect a billionaire CEO to have master chef skills. I bow to your greatness, I joked. Nothing to look at. Serve the rice, she deflected. She knew I was staring, but technically, I had the right to. We were married. I quickly plated the food. Chloe brought out the last dish and retrieved a highly expensive bottle of red wine from the cabinet. Wine too? I asked, surprised. Chloe nodded. It's our wedding day, and our first meal together. It's a special occasion. I smiled. Looks like I might have a shot at making this real. She clearly didn't want this day to be a depressing memory if we actually fell in love. Of course. I said I'd give you a chance, she poured the wine. But if there are no feelings after 3 years, I'll walk. She raised her glass. Happy wedding day, Mr. Vance. Happy wedding day, I replied, clinking my glass against hers. I didn't know wine, but this tasted fantastic. Try the food, she encouraged. I tasted everything while she watched. Chloe, this is literally restaurant quality, I said, amazed. Glad you like it. I love cooking, but I'm watching my figure, so I don't eat much, she smiled. Then I hit the jackpot, I chuckled, demolishing most of the food. My appetite had massively increased since gaining my powers. Mid-meal, Chloe spoke up. Leo, I need to tell you something. My dad called. He froze my credit cards. He knows we got married? I asked. She nodded. I didn't hide it. He said since I'm married, we have to support ourselves. My startup is fine, but I only pay myself a $10,000 a month salary. For a regular person, $10,000 was great, but for Chloe, it wouldn't even cover a single dress she used to buy. He's trying to make you suffer so you'll come crawling back, I observed. Exactly. But I made a promise, and I'm sticking to it, she affirmed. I was going to hire a maid, but now I can't. I'll cover the HOA and utilities, you handle the rest of our living expenses. HOA and utilities here are probably around $4,000. With your salary, is the rest enough for you? I asked. I'll budget. I didn't expect him to play this card, she sighed, visibly annoyed at losing her massive allowance. I'll start making money right away, I promised. Chloe nodded, though she clearly didn't expect much. I was a recent grad with a useless degree, how much could I possibly make? Leo, my dad also explicitly banned me from giving you a job, she added. Don't worry, I've got this, I assured her. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. The intercom screen showed a highly fashionable young woman standing at the lobby doors. Chloe, who's that? Chloe groaned. Roxy Diaz, my best friend. I didn't expect her to drop by. She's not a bad person, but finding out we're living together, she's going to tear into you. I nodded. Makes sense. Any true bestie would go on the offensive finding a strange man in her friend's apartment. Chloe buzzed her in. Roxy arrived at our door moments later. Chloe, who is this? Roxy demanded, freezing when she saw me. Roxy, this is Leo, my boyfriend. Leo, this is Roxy, my best friend. She's from a family of MMA champions and taught me everything I know about fighting, Chloe introduced with a forced smile. Roxy's sharp eyes glared at me. She was certain I had conned Chloe. Nice to meet you, Roxy, I greeted. Roxy nodded coldly. Where are you from? What do your parents do? Where do you work? I ask because Chloe is sometimes too naive for her own good. Chloe grabbed her arm. Roxy, I'll explain. Leo, I cooked, so you're on dish duty. You got it, I said, heading to the sink. Roxy dragged Chloe into the master bedroom. Chloe gave her our cover story, and Roxy was in disbelief. Chloe, have you lost your mind? You're a billionaire heiress, and he's a nobody. You're from different planets. Roxy scolded. Roxy, stop. My family has money. I just need a guy who understands and cares about me, Chloe deflected. You, ugh. Roxy spent half an hour trying to talk sense into her, to no avail. How did you even meet? I've never seen him before, Roxy pressed. Online dating, Chloe lied smoothly. Roxy looked at her, utterly speechless. A billionaire heiress doing online dating? No, give me your phone. I'm installing anti-scam software. He's totally a con artist, Roxy fumed. I'm calling your dad. If he's a scammer, your dad will throw him in a federal prison. Chloe frowned. My dad already knows. He cut off my credit cards. Roxy, don't interfere, you don't even know Leo. Roxy facepalmed. You met online, you think you know him. You went to Stanford. How are you getting scammed? I'm kicking him out right now. Chloe panicked. I promised my dad I wouldn't sleep with him yet, but if you do something crazy, I'll go sleep with him right now. Roxy stared at her, horrified. Your dad is going to have an aneurysm. You're a brilliant CEO, your startup is valued at millions. What do you even see in him? Chloe sighed. He doesn't have money, a great job, or crazy looks. But he loves me, and that's enough. Roxy surrendered. Fine, but do not tell your dad you said that. Lock your bedroom door at night, and whatever you do not get drunk. That's two things, Chloe smirked. I'm losing my mind, Roxy groaned. Call me if anything happens. I live 10 minutes away. Don't antagonize him, Chloe warned. I won't, but I'll catch him slipping eventually, Roxy promised. They exited the room as I finished washing the dishes. So, handsome, you met Chloe online and now you find out she's loaded. How's that feel? Roxy asked, trying to bait me. I glanced at Chloe. Feels great. Never thought I'd be handsome enough to be a sugar baby, I joked. Roxy narrowed her eyes. Don't you feel the pressure? Her lifestyle is incredibly expensive, and she has tons of rich, powerful guys chasing her. If they find out you took her off the market, they'll be furious. Chloe interjected, Roxy, stop scaring him. Leo, there are rich guys, but they won't commit a crime over it. They know it would ruin their chances and make them a joke. Roxy rolled her eyes internally. Chloe was defending me too much. I'll leave you two lovebirds alone. Bye, Roxy huffed, leaving. She's going to keep testing you, Chloe warned me after the door shut. It's fine, she cares about you. Hey, there's a good movie out, wanna go? I asked. A movie? Sure, she agreed after a moment. She had never been to the movies with a guy, but since she promised me a chance, it made sense to go on our wedding day. We took an Uber to the mall since we both had a little wine. Mister, your girlfriend is so pretty. Buy her a rose, a little girl asked outside the mall. I'll take one, I smiled, paying $10 and handing it to Chloe. Thanks, Chloe smiled. One is perfect. We're on a budget, so don't go buying huge bouquets. Got it, I agreed. I wasn't going to flex money I didn't have. At the theater, I went to print our tickets. Suddenly, a heavy-set guy stepped up next to me. Leo, right? Someone wants to have a chat. Don't make a scene. I frowned. A rich simps goon already? They must have bought off the building security, I deduced. I'll talk after the movie. You wouldn't want Chloe to find out, right? I countered. Don't try anything, or you're dead meat, the goon sneered before backing off. I walked back to Chloe. Want some popcorn? I asked. No thanks, too many calories, she replied. We headed into the theater. Meanwhile, the goon reported back to Preston Thorne. Boss, he said he'll talk after the movie. I didn't want to alert Miss Sterling, so we have to wait. Preston had already received my background check and was furious that Chloe had moved in with a total nobody. Buy me a ticket to that movie, Preston barked. He went inside, bribed someone to switch seats, and sat behind us in the dark. The movie was a high-octane action blockbuster. I used to love these, but now, as a martial arts grandmaster, I kept cringing. The choreography was laughably bad and physically impossible. If I became a stunt coordinator, I'd make bank, though streaming pays better, I thought, letting my mind wander. Chloe, having martial arts training, was actually into it. Behind us, Preston glared a hole into the back of my head. I sensed him immediately but ignored him. Of course a girl like Chloe had stalkers. Halfway through the film, Chloe felt someone staring. She casually glanced back and spotted Preston. He tried to duck, but she recognized him instantly. Preston Thorne. She thought, annoyed. He was an obsessive heir to a multi-million-dollar food empire, rich, but nowhere near her family's league. Leo, we need to get used to PDA. Hold my hand, Chloe whispered, leaning into my shoulder. Sure, I nodded. I wasn't going to turn that down. I gently grabbed her hand. She flinched slightly, she wasn't used to this, but she told herself it was necessary practice for being a married couple. Her hand slowly relaxed. My heart was racing. Her hand was incredibly soft. This was my first time holding a girl's hand, let alone a goddess like her. Whoa! A dark, metallic chest slowly materialized above her head. It wasn't as fancy as the silver one. A black iron treasure chest. I mused, glancing around. No one else could see it. Why did this trigger? Intimacy, or the shift in her emotions? I wondered. Chloe, there's a mosquito, I said, letting go of her hand and waving right through the space above her head. The black iron chest vanished upon contact. I lowered my hand and grabbed hers again, this time interlocking our fingers. Chloe looked down at our hands. Normal holding was one thing, interlocking fingers was another. This guy is getting bold, she thought, but she didn't pull away. It was our wedding day, after all. Just this once, she whispered, turning back to the screen. A black iron chest gave me this. Not bad, I thought, processing the massive influx of knowledge. I had just unlocked the Master Violinist skill. It granted me 50 years of intense violin practice and experience. I was instantly one of the top 10 violinists in the entire country. If I play in the park right now, I could make old people weep, I joked to myself. When the movie ended, I stood up, still holding Chloe's hand. Son of a bitch. Preston raged in his seat, his eyes bulging as he saw our intertwined fingers. He assumed we were already sleeping together, and his blood boiled. Leo, wait for me outside. I need to use the restroom, Chloe said as we exited the theater. I nodded and walked out. When Preston emerged, Chloe cornered him with an icy glare. Preston, Leo is my boyfriend. If you mess with him, I will spend the next 6 months systematically bankrupting your family's company. Try me. Preston gritted his teeth. He's a broke loser. He's not worth this. Remember what I said, Chloe snapped. And fire whoever you bribed in my building. If you stalk us again, you're dead. She turned and walked away. Preston wanted to act tough, but he knew the Sterlings could crush his family like bugs. Outside, the goon approached me. You're smart. Come with me, my boss wants to talk. Lead the way, I said calmly. He led me to a quiet alley. Kid, you're biting off more than you can chew. Know what happens to guys like you? No idea. Why don't you show me? I challenged, perfectly relaxed. If he threw a punch, I was going to hospitalize him. Ring ring. The goon's phone went off. It was Preston. Let him go, Preston ordered, hanging up immediately. You got lucky, kid, the goon spat, walking away. I smiled. Chloe must have threatened the boss. Having a badass billionaire wife protecting me feels pretty good, I chuckled. Leo, where did you go? Chloe asked, looking me up and down when we reunited. She looked relieved I wasn't bruised. Just had to use the bathroom, I lied smoothly, keeping the alley encounter to myself. I just got an emergency call from work. I have to go to the office. Grab dinner on your own, she said apologetically before rushing off. Even on a Sunday, startup CEOs had no days off. Time for me to start making money, I decided. I went to a costume shop and bought a sleek mask that covered my whole face. With my aura, I could alter my vocal cords, ensuring absolute anonymity. I opened the Vibe app, the biggest short video platform in the country. I deleted my old cringe posts, wiped my dozen followers, and set my privacy to max. Top streamers made millions, but I just wanted enough to pay for groceries so I wasn't leeching off Chloe entirely. Why grind for cash when I could spend my time farming my wife for treasure chests? What kind of content should I make? I wondered. Searching the app, I saw top classical musicians and violinists had millions of followers, while martial arts / knife throwing streamers had far fewer. Probably because weapons get shadow banned, but classical music gets algorithmic pushes for culture, I realized. These violin streamers are good, but they aren't masters. I can definitely build an audience, I concluded. I went to a local music shop. Looking for a violin? The owner asked. Got anything under $2,000 that isn't garbage? I asked. I was too broke for a Stradivarius, but my master skills demanded something playable. The owner frowned. If you're a beginner, just buy a $200 student model. Don't waste your money. I smiled. A store owner telling me to spend less. That's new. I just hate seeing good instruments go to waste in a closet, he sighed. I know a thing or two, I assured him. He handed me a returned, darkwood violin. This one plays beautifully, clear, bright tones. It was $2,000, but since it's a return, I'll give it to you for $1,500. Mind if I test it? I took the violin, my posture instantly shifting. The owner's eyes widened. He knew immediately I was a pro. I sat down and played a fast, sweeping melody, holding back my true master-level abilities but still playing far better than an average musician. On the second floor, an elderly man in a tweed suit stepped to the railing, listening in absolute awe. When I finished, the old man clapped loudly. Young man, what incredible talent. Who is your teacher? The owner whispered, that's Professor Harrison, a legendary maestro. I don't have a teacher, Professor, I said honestly. Harrison looked even more stunned. Self-taught at my age to this level was unheard of. I'll take it, I told the owner, who quickly packed it up. Let's exchange numbers, young man. If you ever want to discuss music, call me, Professor Harrison offered enthusiastically. Thank you, Professor, I said, adding him before leaving. Professor, he's amazing, the owner gasped. He plays as well as I do, and I've played for 20 years. No, he's much better than you, Harrison corrected. He was just getting a feel for a new instrument. Give him time, and he could be a maestro. Neither of them knew I was already holding back. I went to an isolated spot by the river. After practicing a few times to get perfectly in sync with the new violin, I put on my mask. Here's Vivaldi's Summer. Enjoy. I recorded the video on my phone. The audio quality wasn't studio level, but it was enough. I recorded 9 more classic, high-difficulty pieces to give myself a backlog, then uploaded the first 2 to the Vibe app. My videos entered the initial algorithm pool of 300 views. If the engagement sucked, the videos would die instantly. Lily, a classical music nerd, was scrolling Vibe when my video popped up. Seeing a guy in a mask playing the violin, she was about to scroll past, but the sheer intensity of the music froze her thumb. Lily stared blankly at her screen. She didn't play the violin, but she had an ear for it. The passion and aggressive speed of my rendition of Summer gave her goosebumps. Oh my god, he's way better than the famous streamers, Lily gasped, immediately clicking my profile. She watched the second video and was equally blown away. This guy is a hidden god. She liked, commented, saved, and shared the videos to her Discord servers. Guys, check out this absolute legend, she typed into a classical music group. Because she was popular in the server, people clicked. Holy crap. This is a maestro-level performance, one user typed. The video quickly cascaded through multiple communities. Meanwhile, in a massive estate, a teenage girl ran up to her grandfather, Professor Harrison. Grandpa, look at this. Is this guy a maestro? Becoming a maestro isn't that easy, Harrison chuckled. It took me a lifetime to reach that level. Just watch it, she insisted. Harrison took the iPad. By the end of the first track, he replayed it, stunned. Despite the crappy phone audio, he recognized true genius. Then he looked closely at the violin in the video. Wait, is that Leo? He wondered, but dismissed it. The kid in the shop was good, but not this good. He watched the second video. You're right, he's better than me, Harrison admitted openly. His skill eclipses mine. Really? His granddaughter gasped. Log into my verified Vibe account and share this. A talent like this shouldn't be hidden, Harrison instructed. When a verified legend like Professor Harrison shared a video, the app's algorithm went into overdrive. At Vibe headquarters, a junior data analyst flagged my account. Boss, we have an anomaly. Professor Harrison just endorsed a masked violinist, claiming the guy is better than him. The team lead watched the video. Push this to the level 4 traffic pool. 100,000 guaranteed views. Shortly after, a regional director saw the metrics going viral. Another verified maestro had just commented on the video agreeing with Harrison. Bypass protocol, push him to the level 6 traffic pool immediately, the director ordered. I returned home, completely unaware that my 2 videos were going nuclear with over 300,000 likes. I'll upload the rest over the next 5 days to hit the 50,000 followers needed to live stream, I planned. I checked my bank app, I only had a few $1,000s left. I couldn't let Chloe eat cheap takeout in a luxury penthouse. I opened Vibe to check my likes. My jaw hit the floor. Both videos had over 300k likes, 150k comments, and I had somehow gained 300,000 followers. Combined views sat at over 6 million. Did the app glitch? I wondered. Then I checked the comments and saw Professor Harrison and another maestro had officially endorsed me. Thank you, Professor Harrison. Thank you, Maestro Davis, I replied in the comments. My phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Leo, is the masked maestro you? It is, Professor. I'd like to keep my private life quiet, so please keep it a secret. Thank you for the shout out, I texted back. Harrison read the text and nearly dropped his phone in shock. Leo, I had no idea it was you. Knowing a young man has reached this level lets me sleep easy knowing classical music is in safe hands, Professor Harrison texted back, overjoyed. He immediately began calling his fellow music legends to boost my videos. At Vibe HQ, the director was sweating. Sir, 5 more verified maestros just vouched for the masked maestro. Bump him to level 8 traffic pool. 30 million views. Now, the VP of content ordered. My videos flooded the timelines of millions of people. Even people who hated classical music were stopping to listen. My follower count skyrocketed. 400k, 600k, 1 million. 1 million followers already, I muttered, ecstatic. I wasn't going to have to rely on my sugar mommy wife. My phone rang. Hello, Mr. Vance. I'm calling from Vibe. We'd love to offer you an exclusive streaming contract. Does a contract mean forced streaming hours? I asked. Yes, but we guarantee massive traffic, the rep replied. I'll pass for now, I said, hanging up. I didn't want a boss. My main priority was farming treasure chests from Chloe anyway. I figured it was best to keep my internet fame a secret. If her parents found out I was an influencer, they'd definitely force a divorce. My stomach growled. I headed down to a decent local diner. Just as I was finishing my food, someone pulled out the chair across from me. Let's chat, Leo. I'm Preston Thorne. My family owns Thorne Foods, worth hundreds of millions, Preston said arrogantly. Good for you. And, I replied calmly. Preston sneered, assuming I was faking my confidence. He slid a check across the table. Here's $500,000. Chloe is just going through a rebellious phase. Take the cash and disappear from her life. I laughed. Preston, intimidation didn't work, so now we're doing bribery. $500,000 is a lot. You make a couple grand a month. You won't see this much money in 10 years. Take it, or you're going to have massive problems, he threatened. Let me be blunt. Even if you buy me off, what makes you think you have a shot with her? Take your check and get out of my sight, I fired back. Preston's face turned purple. 1 million. He slammed his fist on the table. Leave, or I'm calling Chloe right now, I warned. Preston stood up, throwing a business card on the table. You have 3 days to take the million, he hissed before storming out. I got back to the penthouse. Chloe was in her loungewear watching Netflix. Hey, you're pretty valuable. Preston Thorne just offered me $1 million to leave you, I joked, swapping into my slippers. Chloe frowned angrily. He bothered you again. She knew she couldn't legally stop him from just offering me cash. It was up to me to refuse it. Did he try anything physical? Chloe asked. Nah, just threw money at me. Only $1 million, though. That's insulting to you. I'd say you're worth at least $100 million, I grinned. She rolled her eyes. I sat on the opposite couch. By the way, I'm looking for a new job. Do your parents have any specific prejudices against certain careers? I want to avoid any landmines. Chloe thought for a moment. Nothing illegal, obviously. And they strongly despise the entertainment industry and showbiz. Other than that, they're pretty open-minded. I internally winced. Well, being an internet star with millions of followers was basically showbiz. Guess the mask stays on. Don't stress about money, Leo. If we have it, we spend it. If we don't, we budget, she comforted me. In a year, my startup will be profitable, and I'll have dividends. Even if my dad keeps my cards frozen, we'll be fine. I looked at her, genuinely touched. She was an amazing catch. What are you staring at? She asked, slightly flustered. Nothing. I'm going to my room. I'll lock the door so you feel safe, I said, getting up. Inside my room, I sat cross-legged on the bed and began practicing the Leviathan breathing technique, my internal energy manual. It allowed me to absorb ambient energy to strengthen my body. After 3 hours, I opened my eyes. It was working, but incredibly slowly compared to the instant power of a treasure chest. At this rate, it would take 20 years to reach the next tier. I really need to farm a golden chest, I sighed, turning off the lights. I checked my phone in the dark. My jaw dropped. I was at 2 million followers. 8 different maestros had vouched for me, creating an unstoppable viral loop. I posted 2 more videos from my backlog and finally went to sleep, though my mind was racing from the sheer insanity of my day. The next morning, I woke up at dawn, feeling my internal aura cycling perfectly. I did a quick meditation session. Morning, Chloe, I greeted her in the kitchen. Morning, want some pancakes? I'm making a batch, she offered, before realizing how domestic she sounded. Her cheeks flushed red. Absolutely. Thanks, I smiled. I knew what she was thinking, but I played it cool. In the bathroom mirror, I noticed my face had changed slightly. My jawline was sharper, my skin clearer, my nose more defined. The internal energy was slowly optimizing my genetics, making me significantly more handsome. Over breakfast, Chloe laid out the ground rules. We clean the common areas together. We don't enter each other's bedrooms. And text me if you aren't coming home for dinner. Got it, I said. Are you quitting your job today? She asked as we left the apartment. Yeah. It barely pays minimum wage, I replied. In the elevator, the doors opened on the 15th floor, and Mrs. Higgins stepped in. Oh, hi Chloe, Mrs. Higgins smiled, then stared at me. And who is this? Chloe grabbed my arm. Mrs. Higgins, this is my boyfriend, Leo. We live together. Honey, make sure you're home early tonight, she said smoothly. Mrs. Higgins looked shell-shocked. She had been trying to set Chloe up with her son. Leo, what does your family do? Maybe we can do business, Mrs. Higgins probed, eyeing my cheap clothes suspiciously. My parents are farmers. We own a small plot of land. I doubt there's much business to do, I replied cheerfully as the doors opened at the lobby, and I walked out. Chloe texted me frantically. Why did you tell her that? She's going to push her son on me even harder now. It's the truth. Don't worry, no one is stealing my wife, I texted back, smiling. My phone rang. It was Jimmy, a coworker. Leo, where are you? The boss is screaming. He said you're fired for being late. I checked my watch. It was 8:20 a.m. My shift started at 9 a.m., but my toxic boss demanded everyone arrive by 8:30 a.m. unpaid. Leo, you think this office is your living room? Look at the time. You're fired. Mr. Gable, my boss, screamed the moment I walked in. Is that so? I replied calmly. Then cut me a check for my final wages, plus the legally mandated 3 months of severance pay for firing me without cause. Thank you. Gable glared. You're dreaming. I'm not paying you a dime of severance. I sneered. My contract says 9 a.m. I arrive at 8:30 every day. We all work unpaid overtime every night. Do you really want me to call the Department of Labor and trigger an audit? I have plenty of free time now to ruin your life. Gable panicked. He knew I would win that lawsuit instantly. Fine, just get to your desk. I'll let you off with a warning, he backpedaled, planning to force me to quit later. You don't get to fire me and unfire me, I laughed. You have 10 minutes to cut my severance check, or I make the call. Gable was furious but cornered. Cut him the check and get him out of here, he barked at accounting. 5 minutes later, I walked out with $13,000 in my bank account. Thanks, Gable. I came in today to quit anyway. You just gave me free money. You're a great guy, I waved cheerfully, leaving my ex-boss screaming in rage. Half an hour later, I arrived at an abandoned construction site on the edge of the city. I needed to test my Grandmaster abilities. I burst into a sprint. Wind roared past my ears. I tapped the ground and launched myself 40 feet forward. I ran non-stop for 10 minutes, barely breaking a sweat. I'm clocking at least 50 miles per hour. A cheetah is faster, but my endurance is limitless, I calculated, thrilled. Next, I tested my aura. I projected my internal energy outward, and a dozen loose bricks levitated into the air around me. With a flick of my wrist, the bricks shot forward like cannonballs, smashing into a solid concrete pillar and blasting chunks out of it. My telekinesis is insane, I thought. I picked up a dry piece of straw. Infusing it with aura, I threw it at the concrete wall. It buried itself an inch deep into the solid stone. If I hit a person with this, it would blow right through their skull. I'm literally a superhero, I realized. I spent another 30 minutes practicing my super leaps, easily vaulting 30 feet straight up into the air. Earning money didn't even matter anymore. With this kind of power, I was invincible. My phone buzzed. It was a voice memo from Professor Harrison. Leo, congratulations. 3 million followers. Are you posting new videos today? I opened Vibe. 3 million followers in less than 24 hours. Professor, thank you so much for the endorsements, I replied. Don't just thank me, post more music. And for the love of God, buy a better camera. Your audio quality is holding you back, he replied. He's right. If I'm going to stream, my old busted phone will probably crash, I thought. I went to the Apple store and dropped $1,500 on the newest iPhone Pro Max. With my severance pay, I was fine. I grabbed my violin and went back to the riverbank. I recorded 2 new videos with the fresh camera. The 4K video and crystal clear audio made a massive difference. I immediately uploaded them. Within minutes, Professor Harrison and his maestro friends were commenting on the upgraded quality, pushing the algorithm to feed my content to millions more. At Vibe HQ, the admin team was freaking out. Sir, a rival app is openly recruiting the masked maestro in his comments section. They're offering him a 70% cut of all tips and an instant creator fund unlock. Unlock his tipping feature immediately, the director ordered. Call him right now. Offer him 60% on tips without a contract, and 70% if he signs with us. Keep his identity strictly confidential. The admin frantically called me, but my phone was on airplane mode while I was recording. He spent an hour terrified I had jumped ship until I finally turned my signal back on. Leo, thank God, the Vibe admin practically cried. We're unlocking your video tipping feature right now. 60% cut. Please don't go to another app. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'll let you know if I ever consider leaving, I promised. Tipping activated. Let's see if I can make grocery money, I thought, heading to Whole Foods to buy dinner ingredients. Meanwhile, in a sprawling mansion in Beverly Hills, an elderly billionaire was scrolling through Vibe. He hated modern pop music, but the algorithm fed him my violin videos. Incredible. This kid plays better than half the maestros I've hired, the old man gasped. He called his son into the room. Look at this video. People are tipping him so he can buy a better violin. Deposit $1 million into my account and tip it to him. His middle-aged son balked. Dad, $1 million to a random streamer? It's my money. I want to support real art, the old man barked. The son sighed and loaded the funds. Dad, the maximum tip button on this app is $10. To send $1 million, I'd have to click this button 100,000 times. Then start clicking, the old man said, walking off for a nap. The son wanted to cry, resigning himself to aggressively tapping his phone screen for the next several hours. I returned to the penthouse with the groceries and decided to mop the floors. Since Chloe was cooking, I had to pull my weight with the chores. Chloe came home early, kicking off her heels. Leo, you quit. You didn't have to clean, I could have done it. Did you find a new job? Yeah, in sales. I make my own hours, I replied vaguely. Technically, selling my music to an audience was sales. Sales is tough, but it builds character, she smiled, heading into the kitchen to prep dinner while humming a pop song. Her voice was beautiful. As a grandmaster, my hearing picked it up perfectly through the door. Ding dong. I opened the door to find Derek Higgins, the neighbor's son, standing there in a tailored suit holding a massive bouquet of red roses. He looked at me, mildly embarrassed but mostly dismissive. Is Chloe here? He asked arrogantly. Chloe walked out of the kitchen. Her face instantly turned to ice. Derek, please leave. Chloe, we're neighbors. I just wanted to get to know you better. Leo won't mind, right? Derek smiled slimily. I mind, Chloe snapped. You're interrupting me cooking dinner for my husband. Get out before I call building security. Derek's face contorted in shock and anger. She called me her husband. Humiliated, he turned and left. I like it when you call me husband, I grinned, leaning on the mop. Chloe blushed deeply. It's just an act for the neighbors. Don't get used to it, she mumbled, retreating to the kitchen. Downstairs, Derek threw the roses in the trash and complained to his mother. Mom, she called him her husband. Mrs. Higgins waved it off. It's a phase. Look at how he dresses, he's a total loser. Just keep pushing. Once she realizes she's slumming it, she'll run into your arms, and we'll merge our businesses. Back in the penthouse, Chloe and I ate dinner. You have a great voice, I mentioned. Ever thought about singing? I wanted to be a pop star, she admitted wistfully. But my dad hates showbiz. He blocked me at every turn. Looking back, the industry is toxic, so he probably saved me. I nodded, keeping my mouth shut about my booming internet fame. Eat fast. We're going to the mall. I'm buying you some decent clothes, she ordered. I tried to refuse, but she dragged me out. While she picked out shirts, I finally checked my Vibe app to see if I made any grocery money. I froze. My tipping dashboard showed nearly $100,000. What the hell? I checked the breakdown. One single account had tipped me $50,000 via 5,000 separate $10 donations. This has to be some kid who stole their parents' iPad, I panicked. I stepped out of the store and called the Vibe admin, asking them to refund the kid before I got sued. Leo, you don't need to worry, the admin laughed on the phone. We already verified the account. It's not a kid, you just landed a billionaire super whale fan. Hanging up the phone, I couldn't hide my excitement. The total tips were nearly $100,000, and my 60% cut meant I'd be walking away with around $60,000. It was exactly the lifeline I needed. I need to use this cash to buy a professional-grade violin, I thought. The fans are paying for high-quality music, and I owe them that. My current student model violin was severely bottlenecking my Grandmaster-level skills. I sent a text to Professor Harrison. Professor, I'm looking to buy a high-end violin, somewhere in the $30,000 to $50,000 range. Do you have any trusted connections? Instruments of that caliber were performance grade. You couldn't just walk into a local music shop and find one. Even if they had the price tag, the quality wasn't guaranteed without a professional connection. Professor Harrison didn't reply immediately, and by then, Chloe and I were already at the boutique. Leo, try this suit. Let's see how the fit is. Chloe handed me a sleek, tailored outfit. Sure. I took the clothes and headed into the fitting room. I checked the price tags. The jacket and trousers easily cleared $1,000 combined. My usual summer wardrobe was maybe $100 for the entire outfit. A warm feeling spread through my chest. Chloe's credit cards were frozen. Spending this much on me meant she had to severely budget her own lifestyle. How does it look, Chloe? I asked, stepping out. Her eyes lit up. Clothes really do make the man. In a high-quality, tailored suit, I looked significantly sharper and more handsome. It looks great. Their cut suits your frame perfectly, she assessed. Try this one next. She handed me a second set. Alright. Over the next 10 minutes, I tried on 3 different outfits. They all fit perfectly, and Chloe looked highly satisfied. We'll take all 3. Ring them up, she told the associate. I blinked in surprise. I thought she was just picking one. She was buying all 3. Chloe, one is more than enough, I whispered, leaning in close. The 3 suits combined were pushing $8,000. She only paid herself a $20,000 monthly salary. One isn't enough, she replied quietly. The penthouse HOA is prepaid through next month. After buying these, I'll still have over $10,000 left for the month. I'll be fine. Without another word, she walked to the register. Because her black cards were frozen, she was using her standard checking account, which didn't have much of a buffer. Whatever, let her buy them, I thought. I can easily make $30,000 to $50,000 a month now anyway. Today's massive tipping wave was a viral fluke, but even when the hype leveled out, my massive follower count meant I could easily pull in tens of thousands a month, even without brand deals or selling merchandise. Let's go look at shoes, Chloe said, dragging me to a luxury footwear store. Half an hour later, she had purchased 3 pairs of high-end dress shoes, dropping another $5,000. More than half her monthly salary was gone. Let's head home, she sighed once we were in the car. I'm going to be eating instant ramen for the rest of the month. She mentally calculated her budget. With 25 days until her next paycheck, she had less than 10 grand left. For someone used to spending 100 grand a month without blinking, this was poverty mode. You won't be eating ramen. I'm here to cover the groceries, remember. I might not be a billionaire, but I can definitely make enough for us to live comfortably, I laughed. We drove back toward the penthouse. I sat in the passenger seat, admiring Chloe's flawless side profile with a faint smile. Leo, what are you staring at? She asked, her cheeks tinting pink. It was dark, but with my enhanced vision, I saw her blush perfectly. Just looking at a beautiful woman, I chuckled. Experts say looking at beautiful people extends your lifespan. Don't blame your staring on the experts, she rolled her eyes playfully. Just then, a glowing chest slowly materialized above her head. It was a bronze treasure chest, gleaming with a heavy, metallic texture. Oh, I was ecstatic. Another chest. We hadn't been together long, but if the spawn rate stayed this high, I was going to be an absolute powerhouse. Even one chest a month would be life-changing. I reached out and casually brushed my hand over the space above her head. Ding! Bronze treasure chest opened. Congratulations, host. You have obtained Grandmaster-level Driving Skills. A massive influx of knowledge flooded my brain. I instantly mastered the mechanics, physics, and handling of motorcycles, supercars, semi-trucks, even military tanks. As long as it had an engine and steering, I could drive it. And it wasn't just basic knowledge, it was Grandmaster level. While I might not technically be superhuman, my driving ability was absolutely world-class, easily rivaling any Formula 1 champion. Before, I thought Chloe was a pretty good driver. Now, looking at her handling, I could spot a dozen microscopic inefficiencies. Of course, for regular city driving, her skills were perfectly fine. A silver chest gave me Grandmaster Martial Arts, but a bronze chest gave me Grandmaster Driving, I analyzed. The chest tier doesn't dictate the skill level, it dictates the value and rarity of the ability in the real world. Grandmaster Driving was cool, but nowhere near as lethal or valuable as internal energy and martial arts mastery. Ugh, Chloe suddenly groaned, her face contorting in pain. Chloe, what's wrong? I asked immediately. She pulled the Porsche over to the shoulder, gripping the steering wheel tightly. My stomach is killing me. Can you drive? If you scratch the car, it's fine, I have insurance. I nodded, and we quickly swapped seats. I settled into the driver's seat and smoothly put the car in gear. With my Grandmaster driving skills, I felt completely synchronized with the vehicle. Hospital? I asked. She shook her head. No, it's a chronic issue. I just need to go home, lie down, and rest. It'll pass. Got it. I accelerated, sliding the Porsche through the heavy evening traffic with absolute fluidity. I moved much faster than the flow of traffic, yet the ride was incredibly smooth. Despite the intense pain, Chloe noticed. Leo was driving fast, but the car wasn't jerking or swerving. He didn't drive like a novice at all. But her background check explicitly stated he had gotten his license in college and hadn't owned or driven a car since. In less than 10 minutes, I pulled the Porsche perfectly into our parking spot. Leo, you're an amazing driver. I thought you were a beginner. You drive better than veterans, Chloe noted as we got out, feeling slightly better after resting her eyes. I smiled. Well, if I can't find a corporate job, at least I know I can make a killing as an Uber driver. It's a waste of talent, she sighed. If you had been trained since childhood, you could have been a professional racer. But racing is dangerous, so maybe it's for the best. Back in the penthouse, Chloe collapsed onto the sofa. Leo, could you get me a glass of warm water? Sure. I poured her a glass. She drank it and lay back down, her brow furrowed in pain. Her stomach was flaring up again. Chloe, let me check your pulse, I offered, pressing my right index and middle fingers against her wrist. As a martial arts grandmaster, pulse diagnosis was foundational. You couldn't master internal energy without a flawless understanding of human anatomy and meridian pathways. Leo, you know pulse diagnosis? Chloe asked, deeply surprised. Even among holistic doctors, true diagnostic mastery was incredibly rare. Much of the ancient knowledge was lost to time. I taught myself from some books, I replied. Chloe stared at me. If any other guy had said that, she would have pulled her arm away instantly. Self-taught from a book. Was he trying to diagnose her or just find an excuse to hold her hand? I frowned. According to her pulse, there was something abnormal in her dantian, the core energy center in the lower abdomen. A regular person's dantian should be completely empty, like a dry well. But Chloe's dantian was constantly radiating a faint, icy energy. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to agitate her internal organs and cause severe cramping. When she sat or lay completely still, the cold energy dispersed slower, which dulled the pain. Chloe, you've been to hospitals for this, right? I asked. I've been to the best specialists in the country, and even flew out to the Mayo Clinic. They ran every scan possible and found absolutely nothing, she said helplessly. I even saw holistic experts. Same result. Of course they didn't find anything, I realized. Western medicine didn't acknowledge the existence of the dantian or meridian channels. How could an MRI scan pick up localized internal energy? A holistic doctor might notice the irregular pulse, but without internal energy of their own, they could only see the symptoms, not the root cause. Has it always been like this, or is it getting worse? I asked. It started when I was 14. It used to be a mild ache, but it's gotten much worse over the years, Chloe frowned. She always kept high-grade painkillers in her purse, but if the pain continued scaling, the pills would eventually become useless. I cleared my throat. Chloe, can I press on your stomach? I need direct contact to get an accurate read. I had just tried sending a trace of my aura through her wrist, but the connection faded before it could reach her core. If I placed my hand directly over her abdomen, I could safely probe her dantian. No. She gave me a deadpan look. Do you have a medical license? Resting on the couch, the pain was already subsiding. We're married. I need a medical license to give my wife a massage. I joked. I'm fine. It stopped hurting as much, she shot back. Holding hands or a brief hug was one thing, but letting me rub her bare stomach while we were alone in the penthouse. She wasn't ready for that. Alright, just rest. I'm going to take a shower and get to work. Got to make that money so we can eat well, I said, heading to my room. Since she wasn't comfortable, I wouldn't push it. It was a chronic issue, so she wasn't in immediate danger. Besides, if I spent more time cultivating, my aura control would improve enough to heal her without needing direct contact. I showered and immediately sat cross-legged to practice my Leviathan breathing technique. Unless there was an emergency, my morning and evening cultivation routines were non-negotiable. Meanwhile, Chloe's phone buzzed with a text from Roxy. Chloe, you're due for a flare-up soon. Be careful. Don't let Leo take advantage of you while you're too weak to fight back. Her cramps were somewhat scheduled. it happened about once every 2 weeks now, compared to once every 2 months when she was younger. I just had one. And Leo is a good guy. Stop treating him like a predator, Chloe texted back. Roxy sent a sighing emoji. I'm not saying he's evil, I'm saying he's totally average and doesn't deserve you. You're a literal genius, how did you become such a hopeless romantic? Also, budget your cash. Your mom texted me and warned me not to lend you any money, and I agreed. Chloe grimaced. I just spent $13,000 buying Leo some nice clothes and shoes today. I was totally planning on making you spot me for the rest of the month. Roxy replied with a massive string of facepalm emojis. You are hopeless. Your cards are frozen, you make $20K a month, and you blew $13K on him in one day. Are you just going to starve? You used to verbally destroy elite billionaires who tried to flirt with you. How did you get so stupid around Leo? You're the stupid one, Chloe texted back. After 3 full cycles of cultivation, my entire body felt refreshed and light. I channeled my aura to my ears. Through the thick walls of the master bedroom, I could hear Chloe's slow, steady breathing. She was fast asleep. 4 million followers, and $150,000 in tips, I muttered, opening the Vibe app. The follower growth had slowed down. Classical violin was a niche market, even playing at a maestro level, breaking 10 million followers would be an absolute ceiling. With the 60% cut, I'm taking home $90,000. Should I withdraw it now or wait? Vibe didn't have a fixed payday, but you could only initiate a direct deposit once every 30 days. I wonder if Professor Harrison saw my text, I thought, opening iMessage. He had left a message. He owned a pristine, collector's edition violin that he was willing to part with. He bought it for $30,000 years ago and offered to sell it to me at cost. Professor, thank you so much, I replied, but I can't let you sell it for the original price. Inflation alone makes it worth more. I'll buy it for $50,000. If that doesn't work, I'll look elsewhere. It was midnight, but Professor Harrison was still awake. He replied almost instantly. Fine, $50,000 it is. You're making good money now anyway, so this old man will take advantage of you. Meet me at this address tomorrow morning. See you tomorrow, Professor. The next morning, my total tips had crawled up to $170,000. It was a nice bump, but the viral tipping spree was clearly dying down. Based on my contract, my cut was $102,000 after platform fees and auto-withheld taxes. I immediately transferred it to my bank. After paying the professor $50,000, I'd still have roughly $60,000 left. That was more than enough to keep Chloe and me eating steaks for a long time. I couldn't just recklessly blow the cash, though. If the Sterlings found out I was a secret internet star, they might forcibly intervene. Professor, thank you for your help. I owe you, I said, bowing slightly when I met Professor Harrison at his estate. If he hadn't endorsed me and rallied the other maestros, I never would have gone viral. True talent took years to get recognized without a spotlight. He had fast-tracked my success by a decade. Leo, classical music is a dying art. Us old-timers are terrified the tradition will die with us. When a genius like you appears, it's our duty to support you, Harrison smiled warmly. He pulled a velvet-lined carbon fiber case from his desk. This was crafted by a legendary luthier. I've kept it in my private collection and only played it a handful of times. Let it shine in your hands. I took the violin. The craftsmanship, the varnish, the weight, it was light years beyond the $1,500 instrument I had bought at the shop. Professor, this is worth way more than $50,000. Let me send you another 50 grand, I insisted. Harrison glared at me. I am a tenured professor with a pension I couldn't spend if I tried. Do I look like I need your extra 50 grand? Take the instrument or put it back on my desk. I'll take it, I laughed. Thank you, Professor. I'll wire the agreed 50 right now. That's better. Harrison nodded, appeased. As a maestro, a few tens of thousands of dollars meant absolutely nothing to him. Leo, would you play a piece for me? Of course, Professor. I'll play The Lark Ascending. I'd love your feedback, I smiled. Harrison didn't respond to the word feedback. He highly suspected he was entirely unqualified to critique my playing. I raised the bow and began. Harrison closed his eyes, instantly transported by the music. The soaring, intricate melodies painted a vivid mental landscape of a serene, endless countryside, with a solitary bird rising into the golden sky. An average listener would know it sounded beautiful, but a master like Harrison could feel the emotional gravity and flawless technical execution behind every single note. When the piece finished, Harrison let out a long breath. Leo, I am nowhere near your equal, Harrison said sincerely, looking at me like I was a ghost. Being in my 20s with this level of mastery broke every rule of musical progression. The cheap violin had definitely been holding me back. Hearing me on a master-crafted instrument confirmed it. I wasn't just a maestro, I was easily in the top 3 violinists alive today. It's just because the violin is so incredible, Professor, I said humbly. Harrison laughed. Give me a Stradivarius and I still wouldn't sound like that. Your foundation is leagues beyond mine. Your future is limitless. He sighed internally. He had a granddaughter, but she was only 16, still a minor. Leo, how old are you? Harrison couldn't help but ask. 23. Harrison did the math. 6 or 7 years wasn't a terrible age gap. In a year and a half, his granddaughter would be an adult. Do you have a girlfriend? Harrison asked, coughing awkwardly. I nodded. Ah, what a shame. I suppose it makes sense. A young man with your talent being single would be the real anomaly, Harrison said, hiding his disappointment. Leo, do you mind if I play a piece? I have a few technical hurdles I haven't been able to overcome. I'd appreciate your guidance. You honor me, Professor. Let's just exchange ideas, I replied quickly. We spent the next hour dissecting music theory. I gained a lot of practical industry knowledge, but Harrison gained far more in sheer technical insight. To be so profoundly skilled, yet so humble. A rare gem, Harrison thought as I finally left. I need to re-record those videos, I thought, taking an Uber back to the riverbank. When I arrived, my jaw dropped. There was a small crowd of people with phones scanning the area. The internet is terrifying, I shook my head. They actually geolocated a random patch of grass by a river. I spent the next 2 hours driving around the city until I finally found a secluded, aesthetic spot in an abandoned botanical garden. Meanwhile, in a sprawling Beverly Hills mansion, Arthur Montgomery lounged on a sunbed. Why hasn't he posted a new video yet? Arthur grumbled, refreshing my Vibe profile for the 3rd time. Dad, why don't I just hire him to play a private concert here at the house? Richard Montgomery asked, rubbing his temples. He was deeply resentful that his billionaire father had forced him to manually tap a $10 donation button 5,000 times yesterday. Arthur glared at him. Classical music is meant to be shared. If I lock him in my living room, how does that help the culture grow? The other maestros are too proud to become influencers, but this kid is changing the game. Dad, he's probably just some broke millennial trying to pay rent. He doesn't care about culture, Richard sighed. Arthur's eyes narrowed. If he's broke, that explains the cheap clothes and the terrible violin in the first video. Richard, tip him another $50,000. Richard turned pale. Dad, please, have mercy. The app only lets me send $10 at a time. I got carpal tunnel yesterday. If you don't want to do it, you can leave. I'm practically in the grave anyway. Guess my own son won't even help me use a smartphone. Arthur guilt-tripped him flawlessly. Fine, I'll do it. Richard groaned, pulling out his phone. He desperately wanted to call Vibe's CEO and demand they install a custom $10,000 tipping button. By the time I finished recording 20 new videos in the botanical garden, I uploaded 2. Oh, Richard immediately noticed the new upload. The first thing he saw was the new violin. Incredible, Richard gasped, listening to the track. The quality jump is insane. He's easily on par with Maestro Davis. He watched the second video, entirely captivated. To play like this, he can't be older than 35. No wonder Dad is obsessed, Richard thought, furiously tapping the $10 tip button with a renewed sense of purpose. I scheduled the remaining 18 videos to auto-publish 2 a day. Now that I had a high-end camera and a world-class violin, I wouldn't need to re-record anything for a while. I checked my Vibe app. What the? I stared at the screen. My tipping dashboard showed another $60,000 in revenue, with $50,000 of it coming from the exact same super whale. I tried to send him a private message to thank him, but his privacy settings blocked all inbound DMs. Rich people have too much free time, I laughed, happily accepting the funds. Dad, the masked maestro uploaded new videos, Richard said, rubbing his cramped thumb. Arthur took the iPad and listened. His eyes sparkled. Magnificent. He's young, but his technique rivals the absolute titans of the industry. Dad, do you think he's as good as Maestro Davis? In a studio, he's probably better. Remember, this kid is recording on an iPhone in a park, Arthur analyzed sharply. Richard was stunned. Richard, is your daughter Sophia dating anyone? Arthur asked suddenly. She's a sophomore in college, Dad. No, she's single. Wait, are you trying to set her up with the masked guy? He wears a mask, he's probably hideous. Plus, with his skill level, he's gotta be in his late 30s. Sophia is 19. Don't play matchmaker with a complete stranger. Arthur coughed. I suppose that's a bit of an age gap. Well, if he's under 25, it would be a perfect match. Dad, how is that even statistically possible? Richard sighed. Arthur shook his head. It really was impossible. Sigh. Riding the subway home, I let out a breath of frustration. After recording, I deliberately walked through Seattle's most crowded outdoor shopping plaza. I passed thousands of people in the span of an hour. not a single treasure chest appeared. If the system was fully active, it stood to reason that out of thousands of people, someone would trigger a chest. Since no one did, it meant the system was exclusively tied to Chloe, or it required highly specific targets that were incredibly rare. System. Hey, system, I called out in my mind. Silence. The system only ever intervened to announce a chest opening. BZZZT. My phone vibrated. Leo, did you meet with Chloe Sterling yet? We know the Sterling family is way out of our league. If she rejected you, don't be heartbroken. It's totally normal, my mom texted. My parents knew about the marriage contract, but they never took it seriously. We were an ordinary middle-class family, the Sterlings were top-tier billionaires. Furthermore, Chloe was the sole heir to their empire. Marrying her meant inheriting unimaginable wealth and power. Mom, why are you bringing this up? I texted back. You haven't texted in 3 days. We were worried. I smiled softly. We didn't have billions, but my parents loved me, and we were happy. That was enough. I've been busy, Mom. I got a new job in sales, and I landed a massive commission on my very first deal. I'm transferring you $10,000 right now. Treat yourselves to something nice, I replied. I couldn't tell them I was actually married to Chloe. Right now, it was a marriage of convenience. If we ended up divorcing in 3 years, it would shatter my parents' hearts to have gotten their hopes up. Did Chloe get you this job? My mom asked. Sort of. The perks are amazing, I grinned. My job was farming her for superpowers. Leo, whatever you do not tell your father. He's just like your grandfather, they refuse to accept any charity or help from the Sterlings. Keep the money for yourself, your dad and I are perfectly fine, she warned. I frowned, staring at the text. Why do we refuse their help? Is there bad blood? When I opened the door to the penthouse, the smell of dinner hit me. Leo, you're back. Give me a few minutes, food is almost done. Chloe's voice drifted from the kitchen. I walked over and leaned against the doorframe, watching her stir-fry vegetables with practiced ease. Chloe, I actually closed a massive deal at my new job today. My commission is going to be around $30,000. Want me to hire a private chef or a maid so you don't have to cook? I offered. Chloe turned around, stunned. You closed a deal that big on your first day? I laughed. Maybe you're my lucky charm. Chloe blushed, looking away. Don't hire a maid yet. Sales is volatile. You might make 30 grand today and nothing for the next 3 months. Put it in savings for now. Alright, whatever you say, I agreed, walking away so she could finish cooking without me staring at her. Dinner's ready, she called out a few minutes later. I walked out of my room, freshly showered and wearing one of the new tailored outfits she bought me. Chloe did a double take. Was it just the lighting, or did he look even better than yesterday? The clothes were the exact same, but his face seemed sharper, more striking. That's weird, Chloe thought. Am I just getting used to looking at him? She refused to believe it was the beauty is in the eye of the beholder effect. They weren't actually in love. Chloe, my grandpa and your grandpa were basically blood brothers in the army. Logically, our families should be super close. Why did we basically cut contact? I asked as we ate. Chloe hesitated. You clearly know the story. Tell me, I prompted. When they served together, my grandpa was single, but your grandpa had a fiancée. That's when they made the marriage pact for their future kids, Chloe explained softly. Later, your grandpa was deployed on a covert op. My grandpa stayed behind. Eventually, the military declared your grandpa Kia. His fiancée was devastated, and my grandpa stepped in to comfort her and help her through the grief. I stopped chewing. Wait, your grandma is my grandpa's original fiancée? Chloe nodded awkwardly. Your grandpa miraculously survived and returned 3 years later. But by then, my grandparents were already married. I sighed. He was deep undercover and presumed dead. You couldn't really blame Arthur Sterling for falling in love with her during those 3 years. It was a cruel twist of fate. My grandpa felt immensely guilty for the rest of his life. He tried to financially support your grandpa to make up for it, but your grandpa proudly refused everything, Chloe continued. I rolled my eyes internally. I completely understood my grandpa. Why take pity money from the guy who accidentally stole your girl? Because of that guilt, my grandpa viewed the marriage contract as absolute law. He fought viciously with my parents over it. To stop the family from tearing itself apart, I offered the 3-year compromise, she finished. I nodded, the pieces finally clicking into place. No billionaire in their right mind would force their sole heir to marry a broke nobody over a 50-year-old promise, unless there was massive historical guilt attached. Leo, your grandpa is gone, and my grandma passed away too. We don't need to carry their baggage, Chloe said gently. Like I said, if we genuinely fall in love over these 3 years, we don't have to divorce. I grinned confidently. We live together and eat together. If I can't win your heart in 3 years, I don't deserve to be a grandmaster. Wait, I said the last part in my head. I mean, I'd be pretty pathetic. When we make it real, I'll take you to visit my grandpa's grave. It's a deal, Chloe smiled. After I cleared the table and washed the dishes, Chloe approached me, her face slightly flushed. Leo, let's go for a walk downstairs. Since we were officially playing the role of a loving couple to the neighbors, walking together meant PDA. Sure, I smiled. We changed our shoes and headed down. In the courtyard, I offered my hand. Chloe hesitated for a fraction of a second before slipping her soft, flawless fingers into mine. Thump, thump. With my grandmaster hearing, I could clearly hear her heart rate spike. Up in a nearby window, Catherine Higgins spotted us. She immediately texted her son. Derek, get downstairs right now. Chloe and that loser are taking a walk. Mom, why would I want to go watch them hold hands? Derek texted back. Don't be an idiot. Go down there and walk next to them. Let Chloe compare you to him side by side. Show off your strengths, and she'll realize she's making a mistake. Derek jogged out of the lobby, catching up to us on the paved path. Chloe, hey, sorry about yesterday, I was out of line. Derek smiled smoothly, before turning to me. Leo, running alone gets boring. Want to jog a few laps and have a friendly competition? Chloe frowned. Derek, we're on a walk. Don't bother us. Derek quickly raised his hands in surrender. Chloe, it's just to clear the air. In fact, let's make it interesting. Leo, I'll put money on it. You literally can't lose. The complex's running track is exactly half a mile per lap. Let's run 5 laps. For every second you beat me, I'll pay you $100. Sound fair? Derek sneered inwardly. He was a dedicated long-distance runner. A skinny nerd like Leo probably couldn't even finish 2.5 miles, let alone beat him. This was the perfect way to humiliate Leo and show off his own athletic stamina in front of Chloe. $100 a second? I asked, looking amused. I used to hate cardio, but as a martial arts grandmaster, my stamina was infinite, and my top speed rivaled a predatory cat. Was this guy literally handing me free money? Yeah, just a friendly wager to apologize for yesterday, Derek said, trying to look sincere. Chloe squeezed my hand tightly. She knew Derek was setting a trap. Derek was fit, and if Leo lost, he'd be publicly embarrassed. Derek, 5 laps is a warm-up. I usually run at least 10. If you can't handle it, jog by yourself. I waved him off dismissively. Derek almost laughed out loud. Leo was clearly terrified and trying to use a ridiculously high distance to back out gracefully. Ha! Leo, I didn't know you were an endurance runner. 10 laps it is. Derek clapped his hands. 5 miles. And the bet stands, $100 for every second you beat my time. Chloe grabbed my arm. Leo, don't. Even if you somehow beat him by 5 whole minutes, that's only 300 seconds. 30 grand isn't worth playing his stupid games. Derek's blood boiled. Chloe was pressing her chest against my arm to hold me back. In his mind, she was already his property. You know what, Chloe is right. 30 grand is chump change, Derek taunted, pulling his wallet out. Let's raise the stakes. $1,000 a second. Beat me by 5 minutes, and you walk away with 300 grand. Derek figured it didn't matter if it was 100 or 1,000, Leo had 0 chance of winning. Upping the stakes just proved to Chloe how hopelessly outclassed Leo was financially. Chloe, he offered. It would be rude to refuse, and it'll look like I'm scared. Don't worry, I've got this. I smiled at her, then turned to Derek. You aren't going to default on the bet, right? I have millions in liquidity, Leo. I'll pay every cent in cash. Chloe is our witness, Derek gloated. Let's go then. Chloe, go sit on the bench. 5 miles won't take long, I said. Chloe sighed, defeated. If I was this stubborn, she couldn't stop me. 5 miles was a brutal distance for someone who didn't train regularly. Leo, want to stretch first? Derek offered mockingly. No need, let's just go. Derek sneered. No warm-up. This guy is going to tear a hamstring on lap 2. If I don't beat him by at least 10 minutes, I'll change my last name. Chloe, my mom is walking around here somewhere. Let me grab her to help keep time, Derek said. He knew his 5-mile PR was around 35 minutes, which was highly competitive for an amateur runner. Mrs. Higgins hurried over with her phone out. Go. Chloe and Mrs. Higgins hit the stopwatches on their phones simultaneously. Derek and I shot off the starting line. Within 3 seconds, I was 20 feet ahead of him. Is he an idiot? This is a distance run, not a sprint. Derek mocked internally, settling into his pace. Chloe sighed from the bench. She knew basic pacing. Bursting off the line like that meant Leo was going to gas out completely within the first mile. Whoosh! A blur blew past the bench. I finished my first lap, still maintaining my terrifying sprint speed. 1 minute and 50 seconds. That's insane, Chloe gasped, checking her phone. She quickly Googled the times. That's literally Olympic qualifying pace for the 800 meter. Leo isn't built like a tank, but his cardio is monstrous, she thought. Mrs. Higgins scoffed. Chloe, he's fast, but this is a marathon, not a sprint. He's acting like a fool. Even if he stops now, running half a mile in under 2 minutes is incredible, Chloe defended me with a smile. At the 4-minute mark, Derek finally crossed the line to finish his first lap. Just as he did, I flew past him again, finishing my second lap. What the? Derek's jaw dropped, his lungs burning. I had just lapped him. On lap 2, Chloe's eyes sparkled. Leo had maintained the pace. Even if he collapsed on lap 3, his mile time was elite. Lap 3, lap 5, lap 8, I never slowed down. By the time I crossed the finish line for lap 10, I deliberately hunched over and panted heavily so I didn't look like a complete mutant. 22 minutes and 35 seconds, Chloe announced, showing her screen to Mrs. Higgins. Mrs. Higgins looked like she had swallowed a lemon. Derek had only finished 6 laps. He still had 2 miles to go. Chloe, I'm going to walk it off, I wheezed dramatically, pacing around the grass. Mrs. Higgins, I didn't realize Leo had such elite stamina. Derek really needs to pick up the pace, or this is going to get very expensive. $1,000 a second adds up, Chloe smiled sweetly. Mrs. Higgins remained completely silent, her face pale. Pant, pant. 14 excruciating minutes later, Derek finally crossed the finish line, completely dead on his feet. 36 minutes and 47 seconds, Chloe announced cheerfully. Leo ran it in 22:35. That's a difference of 14 minutes and 12 seconds. Derek bent over, hands on his knees, wanting the earth to swallow him whole. His time was genuinely good, but compared to me, he looked like a toddler in a race. Son, it's just a few $100,000. Pocket change, Mrs. Higgins forced a smile, though her eye twitched. But to Leo, it's a fortune. We wouldn't dream of withholding it. She asked for my banking details. A minute later, my phone pinged. She had transferred exactly $852,000 into my account. It wasn't exactly pocket change for them either, but refusing to pay would instantly destroy any chance Derek had with Chloe. Mrs. Higgins, we'll be heading up now, Chloe smiled warmly. As Chloe and I walked away holding hands, Derek stared at my back, pure hatred burning in his eyes. Mom, learn from this. Next time you target someone, do your research, Mrs. Higgins scolded quietly. I had no idea he was a freak of nature. Derek spat furiously. Mom, do you think he cheated? Cut across the grass when we weren't looking? Derek demanded. The complex had paths that bypassed the main track, taking them would shave off serious time. No, Mrs. Higgins shook her head. I texted the maid to watch from our balcony. He ran the track perfectly. You think I'd hand over 800 grand without verifying it? Don't tell your father about this, or he'll kill you. Just focus on winning Chloe. If you marry her, this money was an investment. Now she knows he's a super athlete. I literally just paid $800,000 to make him look cool in front of her, Derek fumed. Stop pouting. She would have found out eventually. We proved we have liquid cash to burn, which puts pressure on him since he's broke, she rationalized. Do I even still have a chance? Of course. Run a full background check on him. Know your enemy, she commanded. Understood, Derek nodded, his expression dark. He had completely underestimated Leo. That wouldn't happen again. Back in the penthouse, Chloe looked at me like I was an alien. Leo, you run at an elite, professional level. How did I not know this? She asked in disbelief. She had run a thorough background check on me. My file was the definition of aggressively average. If I was this fast, I should have been a track star in high school or college. I shrugged. I never had a reason to try. But when someone offers me $1,000 a second, my inner Usain Bolt woke up. Pfft. Chloe burst out laughing. Derek must be losing his mind. He's actually a great runner, and you utterly humiliated him. You just made $852,000 on a post-dinner stroll. We made $852,000. It's marital property, I corrected. She rolled her eyes. We aren't a real couple yet. What's yours is yours. You earned it, I'm not taking half. Then I'll buy a car. It's free money anyway, might as well enjoy it. Plus, I can pick you up from work sometimes, I suggested. Chloe smiled. With that budget, you should look at the BMW X5. The 3.0-liter turbo version is around $80,000 fully loaded. You know your cars? I asked, surprised. Roxy is a gearhead. She never shuts up about them. I don't care about cars, I just need them to get me from point A to point B, she explained. I thought about her $150,000 Porsche Panamera daily driver, and chuckled. Alright, I'll trust Roxy's taste. I'll go to the dealership tomorrow. The next morning, after uploading my scheduled videos, I took an Uber to the BMW dealership. They had a fully loaded black X5 in the showroom. "Mr. Vance, we'll handle the registration. Your temporary plates are good for 15 days, the salesman said eagerly as he handed me the keys. "Thanks." I hopped in and drove off. Cruising down the highway in a brand new luxury SUV, I felt a rush of adrenaline. Before this, my highest aspiration was a beat-up used Honda. Now, I was driving a tank that cost a year's salary for most people. Stay humble, I reminded myself. I'm a martial arts grandmaster now. A car is just a piece of metal. I parked in our reserved spot at the complex and texted a picture to Chloe. "Look cool." "Very cool," she texted back. "Roxy found out about the bet yesterday. She demanded you buy us dinner to celebrate the windfall. Since you have a new car, you're driving. Let's go to a dive barbecue place. I want to save you money, and I've never had street food before." I laughed out loud. A billionaire heiress eating at a gritty street barbecue joint. That was going to be an interesting sight. "Mom, the investigator sent the file." I was right. Leo is a total loser. His parents are broke farmers. He has absolutely zero connections. He probably met Chloe on Tinder. And we don't even know her family background yet, just that her cosmetic startup is valued in the millions, Derek reported over the phone. If she's a founder at her age, her family must be wealthy. "Win her over, and we merge the families," Mrs. Higgins replied. "By the way, there's a brand new BMW X5 parked next to Chloe's car. Fully loaded, probably 80 grand. Derek gritted his teeth. He knew exactly who bought that car. Leo won his money yesterday and was flexing a luxury SUV today. "Mom, I'm going to make him spit out every cent. He's a nobody. He doesn't get to mess with me." "Just be smart," she warned before hanging up. Derek pulled up his contacts and dialed Marcus Trent, a ruthless local fixer who specialized in extortion, setups, and ruining lives. "Marcus, you busy?" "For you, Derek." "Never. Need a favor?" Marcus's raspy voice came through the speaker. "Let's grab a drink tonight at that dive barbecue place downtown, Smitty's. We need to talk." Derek hung up, a nasty smile spreading across his face. Marcus was an expert at destroying naive, freshly graduated kids who had no idea how the real world worked. "Leo, you poor, stupid hick. You took my money, and now I'm going to ruin your life," Derek sneered. "Chloe, let's go to Smitty's barbecue. It's a gritty spot, but the food is incredible." I handed her my phone to show the reviews. "Looks fun. Let's pick up Roxy and head over," Chloe agreed. "Oh, by the way, do not try to outdrink Roxy. She can down a bottle of tequila like water, and she can drink 10 beers without blinking." I smiled. My alcohol tolerance used to be average, but as a grandmaster, my internal energy passively burned off toxins. I could chug 3 gallons of vodka and still pass a breathalyzer test. 10 minutes later, we picked up Roxy. Because Chloe claimed the passenger seat, Roxy was relegated to the back of the X5. "Chloe, why are you making him save money? He won $850,000 yesterday. Don't act like a cheap housewife until after the real wedding," Roxy teased. I glanced at Chloe. Her ears turned red. We were technically married. "Roxy, if you don't want barbecue, I can Venmo you $20 for a McDonald's meal while we eat," Chloe shot back. "Oh, I'm eating. I'm going to eat until Leo cries over the bill." "Leo, you drink, right?" "We're taking shots," Roxy declared, plotting to get me drunk so I'd spill my darkest secrets. "I can drink a little," I replied modestly. We arrived at Smitty's half an hour later. The neon signs buzzed over a crowded, noisy patio. "Perfect timing, there's one table left," I pointed out. As we sat down, half the men in the joint turned to stare. Chloe and Roxy were both drop-dead gorgeous, and they looked entirely out of place in a dive bar. Still, no one was stupid enough to approach. "Waiter, bring us a case of iced beers to start," Roxy yelled before we even looked at the menu. "Roxy, take it easy," Chloe warned. "You guys are acting all lovey-dovey. I'm third-wheeling. I have to drink to numb the pain." "Leo, you better keep up." Roxy popped the cap off a bottle and slammed it down in one go. "Slow down," I laughed, easily downing my own bottle. Half an hour later, Roxy and I had killed 5 beers each. Chloe started out worried, but seeing me completely unaffected, she relaxed. My alcohol tolerance was apparently monstrous. Chloe nudged my arm under the table. "Leo, don't look now, but Derek is sitting a few tables away. The guy he's with has face and neck tattoos. He looks like a thug," she whispered. I casually glanced over. Derek and Marcus were sitting in the corner. "Derek, what's the job?" Marcus asked, downing a shot. "I need you to ruin a guy. He's a nobody with zero background," Derek muttered. "Hire a high-end escort to honey trap him and get blackmail photos. If he doesn't bite, slip something in his drink, get him behind the wheel, and call the cops for a DUI. If that fails, drag him into an illegal poker game and bankrupt him. I narrowed my eyes. My enhanced hearing picked up every single word. I can just have my boys jump him in an alley and break his legs, Marcus offered casually. No, Derek shook his head. I'm trying to win over his girl. If he gets hospitalized, she'll just play nurse. I need to destroy his reputation. I want him in jail or broke. Got it, Marcus grinned. I'll handle it smoothly. 10,000 now, 90,000 when it's done, Derek said, sliding a photo across the table. His name is Leo Vance. Lives in my building, 20th floor. Total loser. I clenched my fists under the table. Derek was vicious. Getting framed for a DUI or drowning in illegal gambling debt would completely destroy a normal person's life. Meanwhile, Roxy's eyes were getting glassy. The beers were hitting her. I was perfectly sober, but I slurred my words a bit to play along. Derek, I'm hitting the head. Marcus stood up and walked toward the bathrooms inside. On his way back, his eyes locked onto our table. He stared hungrily at Chloe and Roxy. He swaggered over to our table. Hey beautiful, why don't you two come sit at our table? My buddy over there is loaded. Keep us entertained, and maybe you'll walk away with a few $1,000, Marcus sneered, leaning over the table. I looked up at him. Marcus froze. He recognized my face instantly from the photo Derek just gave him. Damn, Derek found some top-tier talent. No wonder he's paying $100,000 to ruin this kid, Marcus thought. What are you looking at, punk? You want me to smash your face in? Marcus barked at me, raising a massive fist. Whack. Before I could move, Chloe shot up from her chair. She grabbed 2 chopsticks and jammed them straight toward Marcus's eyes. Marcus panicked, throwing his hands up to block his face. Crack. Chloe pulled the chopsticks back and drove a brutal left hook directly into Marcus's liver. As a trained martial artist, she knew exactly where the organs were. Marcus doubled over, his face turning gray from the agonizing pain. Chloe, sweep the leg. Kick him in the junk. Roxy cheered drunkenly from her seat. Marcus stumbled backward, terrified. If this crazy girl actually kicked him in the groin, he'd be sterile. I don't hit women. Marcus gasped, scrambling away as fast as he could. He was a street brawler. He instantly recognized that Chloe actually knew how to fight. If it escalated, he'd get embarrassed by a girl in a dress. Chloe, you're basically a ninja, I laughed. If she hadn't intervened, I would have broken Marcus's arm in 3 places. Obviously, she huffed proudly, sitting back down. Leo, don't try anything funny at home. I trained her. She will literally murder you, Roxy slurred, pointing a finger at me. I looked at Chloe. A black iron treasure chest was slowly forming above her head. Does the system trigger when her adrenaline spikes? I theorized. Leo, we should leave. That guy might come back with friends, Chloe said, looking nervous. Roxy was highly trained, but she was drunk. I was untrained and supposedly also drunk. Chloe knew she couldn't fight off a group of men by herself. Let's go, I agreed. Hold on, you've got a leaf in your hair. I reached out and brushed my hand over her head. Ding! Black iron treasure chest opened. Congratulations, host. You have obtained Grandmaster-level wine tasting. I internally groaned. Wine tasting? Really? At least the system had the decency to make it Grandmaster level. A black iron chest gave me Master-level Violin Skills before, so this chest was fundamentally lower tier in terms of real-world value, but maxed out in mastery. No, let's not go. I can still drink, Roxy protested, swaying in her seat. Leo, we haven't even finished the second case. Roxy, we'll take the beer home, Chloe reasoned gently. You can drink Leo under the table at the penthouse. If you get too drunk, you can crash in my bed. Deal, Roxy agreed instantly, letting Chloe pull her up. I paid the bill and we walked to the car. Across the patio, Derek was hiding behind a pillar. Marcus had briefed him, and Derek knew Chloe was right there. Idiot, I muttered under my breath. Trying to hire street thugs against me. Derek was going to learn a harsh lesson. Roxy, buckle up. Chloe strapped her friend into the back seat while I got into the driver's seat. Damn it, Derek cursed, watching the X5 pull away. Derek, who the hell is that girl? She strikes like a pro assassin. She hit me right in the liver, Marcus groaned, clutching his side. She's a billionaire heiress. That's all you need to know, Derek warned. You can do whatever you want to Leo, but if you touch a hair on her head, her family will make sure you vanish. Got it, Marcus nodded. He preyed on the weak. He knew better than to cross the ultra-rich. Did they see you? Let's go check. Derek walked over to where we had been sitting and looked toward his own table. His stomach dropped. The sightline was perfectly clear. If Chloe had looked around, she absolutely saw him sitting with the tattooed thug who just harassed her. We need to go dark, Derek said sharply. When the job is done, I'll drop off the cash in 2 months. If Chloe investigates, we can't be linked. Understood, Marcus agreed. Derek was good for the money. Leo, the guy Derek was with looked like a criminal. I think Derek met him to plan something against you, Chloe said worriedly from the passenger seat. I'll be careful, don't worry. What about you? If he targets you, can you handle yourself? I asked. I can handle 2 or 3 average guys easily, she said proudly. If I couldn't, my dad would have forced me to have a security detail. In the back seat, Roxy fumbled for her phone. Uncle Robert, someone just harassed me and Chloe at Smitty's barbecue. Are you going to arrest them or do I have to call Grandpa? Roxy slurred into the phone. Roxy, are you drunk? A deep voice sighed. If you don't want to call your grandpa, hand the phone to Chloe. Chloe took the phone. Deputy Chief Diaz, I'm so sorry, she's drunk. A guy tried to force us to drink with him, but he ran off. We're fine. We're heading back to my place right now, Chloe explained. Understood, Chloe. Keep her safe, the man replied before hanging up. Roxy, why did you bother your uncle over a bar squabble? Chloe scolded, handing the phone back. Because that guy was a creep. Leo, when we get back, we're doing shots. I'm gonna crush you, Roxy mumbled. I was slightly shocked. Roxy's uncle was the deputy chief of police. We were in Seattle. A deputy chief of a major metropolitan police force wielded massive power. Leo, you better treat Chloe right, or my uncle will throw you in solitary, Roxy threatened sleepily. Son of a bitch, that girl hit hard, Marcus groaned as he unlocked his apartment door, lifting his shirt to see a massive purple bruise forming over his liver. Bang, bang. Before he could even sit down, someone pounded on his door. He opened it without checking the peephole and froze. 2 uniformed police officers were standing in the hallway. Marcus's heart raced. If they dug into his actual operations, he was looking at 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Officers, how can I help you? Marcus asked, pasting on a fake smile. Unless they had a warrant, he wasn't scared. A simple bar fight was a 24-hour hold at worst. Marcus Trent, you're coming with us for public harassment, the lead officer said coldly, grabbing his arm. Whoa, wait, are you talking about the barbecue joint? I just asked those girls to have a drink with me. They assaulted me. I'm the victim here. Marcus protested. The second officer laughed sharply. You tried to force Deputy Chief Diaz's niece to serve you drinks. You're a bold guy, Marcus. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. Marcus's blood ran cold. Deputy Chief Diaz's niece? He knew exactly who Robert Diaz was. Diaz was in charge of the organized crime task force. Marcus didn't resist as the cuffs clicked around his wrists. He knew fighting back would only make the beatdown worse. At the station, Deputy Chief Diaz stood behind the two-way mirror in the interrogation room. Sir, we've had our eye on Marcus Trent for a while, but we never had enough evidence to hold him for more than a day, a detective briefed him. This might be the leverage we need. Tear his life apart. Find everything, Diaz ordered coldly. Yes, sir. Drink. Leo, keep drinking. Roxy yelled, practically falling off the bar stool in the penthouse. We're out of beer. Next time, I sighed, looking at Chloe for help. Roxy, you're tapped out. Save it for next time, Chloe coaxed. Who said we're out? Chloe has a whole wine cellar. I'm going to get you so drunk you confess all your sins to Chloe, Roxy babbled. Chloe, I'm going to my room. Good luck with her, I said quickly, escaping down the hall. If Roxy broke out the hard liquor, she was going to end up in the hospital. I sat on my bed and started cultivating. As my aura cycled, the alcohol in my blood evaporated instantly. Wait a minute, I realized. The alcohol is actually accelerating my aura absorption. Is this why every ancient martial arts master in the movies is an alcoholic? I wondered, amused. Outside, I could hear Chloe struggling to drag Roxy into the guest bathroom to wash her face. I should probably keep my alcohol tolerance a secret, I thought. It was the ultimate trump card in business negotiations, and clearly, it was a great way to handle rowdy friends. It was past midnight. In the precinct interrogation room, Marcus was sweating through his shirt. Officers, please, can I get a glass of water? I didn't know she was the chief's niece. If I knew, I would have kissed the ground she walked on, Marcus begged. The AC was broken, he was hungover, and his throat was bone dry. Marcus, you aren't here for a bar scuffle, the detective slammed a file on the table. If you cooperate, the DA might offer you a deal. If you don't, you're going away for a very long time. We're keeping you for the maximum 72-hour hold while we dig. You think your crew isn't going to panic? You think your wife isn't going to wonder where the $1 million under the floorboards came from? Marcus swallowed hard. His illegal gambling rings and extortion rackets would land him a decade in a cell. Let's shift gears, the detective leaned in. Why were you meeting with Derek Higgins tonight? Don't say you're old friends. We know he buys narcotics from you. Are you his distributor? Do you know the mandatory minimums for trafficking? Marcus almost fell out of his chair. Trafficking? He didn't sell drugs. Derek didn't even do drugs. No, I don't sell drugs, I swear. Marcus panicked. If they pinned a trafficking charge on him, he'd be locked up for life. If he didn't buy drugs from you, what did he buy? Tell the truth, Marcus, and maybe you see the outside of a cell before you die of old age, the detective pressed. Marcus's mind raced. Derek was a billionaire's kid. If Derek got brought in, he'd afford the best lawyers in the state and walk free, leaving Marcus holding the bag. I'll talk, Marcus cried. Derek hired me to ruin a guy named Leo Vance. He wanted me to hire an escort to honey trap him for blackmail. And, if that didn't work, he paid me to drug his drink, put him in a car, and call you guys for a DUI. Or trap him in my illegal poker room and bankrupt him. Is that it? Marcus slumped in his chair, defeated. That's it. The detective smirked. Early the next morning, the doorbell rang at the Higgins estate. The maid opened the door to find two detectives standing on the porch. We're looking for Derek Higgins. We need him to come down to the station for questioning regarding a conspiracy charge, the detective said, flashing his badge. Derek, who had been eating breakfast, turned ghost white. Derek, what's going on? Mrs. Higgins asked, panicking. Mom, it's a misunderstanding. Call the lawyers. I'll be fine, Derek said, trying to act tough as the cops escorted him to a cruiser. He was certain Marcus wouldn't talk. A bar fight was a misdemeanor. An hour later, Derek was sitting in the same interrogation room. Derek Higgins, tell us about your relationship with Marcus Trent, and exactly what you hired him to do. Lie to us, and you'll be charged with obstruction, the detective said flatly. I have no idea what you're talking about. We just had a beer together, Derek said arrogantly. He was rich, cops didn't scare him. Derek, Marcus already confessed. You have a small window to cooperate before we charge you as the mastermind of an extortion ring, the detective warned. Derek sneered inwardly. He didn't believe them for a second. Half an hour passed, and Derek refused to budge. He confidently maintained that Marcus was just a casual acquaintance. Derek, you just blew your chance at a plea deal, the detective sighed, closing his notepad. Marcus confessed. You've met with him 3 times. The first time you paid him $30,000. The second time, $40,000. Last night, you agreed to pay him $100,000 to destroy Leo Vance. Am I missing anything? Derek's arrogant smirk instantly vanished. A cold sweat broke out on his neck. He had paid Marcus in untraceable cash. If the cops knew the exact dollar amounts, Marcus had definitely sung like a canary. If I cooperate, do I get immunity? Derek asked, his voice trembling. Marcus already gave us the blueprint. But if you can give us new evidence on his illegal gambling rings, the DA will look favorably on you, the detective offered. I'll tell you everything, Derek folded immediately, furiously spilling every single secret Marcus had ever shared with him to save his own skin. At the penthouse, the 3 of us were eating breakfast. Roxy glared at me over her coffee mug. Leo, you lied. You said you could only drink a little. You're a shark. Chloe, dump him. Liars make terrible boyfriends. Roxy, he told you he was done 5 times. You forced him to keep drinking, Chloe defended me, buttering her toast. Whatever. Next time, we're drinking tequila. I dominate at tequila, Roxy grumbled. I laughed. I should warn you, I have an infinite tolerance for hard liquor. I could drink a gallon and be fine. Roxy rolled her eyes. Sure you could. Her phone buzzed. It was Uncle Diaz. Roxy, you awake? Diaz asked. The guy from the bar, Marcus, spilled everything. He's tied to multiple felonies. He's going to federal prison for 7 or 8 years. As for Derek Higgins, his charges are lighter. If his family pays the fines, he'll be out on bail this afternoon. Wait, Uncle Robert, who is Derek Higgins? Roxy asked, confused. Derek is the kid who hired Marcus to frame Chloe's husband, Leo, Diaz explained casually. Why did Chloe get married in secret anyway? I froze. As a grandmaster, I heard every word through the phone speaker. Roxy hung up slowly. She turned to stare at Chloe, her eyes wide with shock. Chloe, my uncle just said you and Leo are married. Are you kidding me? You married this guy and didn't tell your best friend? Roxy yelled. I stood up quickly. I'm going to go wash my car. You guys talk. I practically sprinted out the door. Chloe sighed and went to her room, returning with our official marriage certificate. She dropped it on the table. Roxy slapped her forehead. You actually married him. Roxy, sit down. It's complicated, Chloe said gently, proceeding to explain the 50-year-old pact, the guilt of her grandfather, and the 3-year compromise she had arranged to keep her family from imploding. Roxy sat in silence. If she were in Chloe's shoes, facing an ailing grandfather she adored, she might have done the same thing. You're only 24 when the contract expires. I guess a quiet divorce won't ruin your life, Roxy sighed. Exactly, Chloe smiled. Just be careful, Chloe, don't drink around him. You might think you're in control, but he's a guy, Roxy warned. Honestly, After living with him this week, he's a really good guy. Being friends with him is easy, Chloe admitted. Roxy stared at her, horrified. Chloe, please tell me you aren't actually falling for him. He's totally average. You literally have tech billionaires begging to take you to dinner. Roxy, he's my husband right now. Please respect him, Chloe said, her tone suddenly serious. Roxy threw her hands up in defeat. Fine, I won't insult him, but you need to start taking your martial arts training seriously. I'm almost at the internal force level. You're barely at the external force stage. If you train harder, you won't need to rely on anyone for protection. I'll come to the gym more often, Chloe promised. Roxy, does your family have any training manuals Leo could use? Absolutely not. Our family techniques are strictly guarded. Besides, he's in his 20s, his bones have already set. It's too late for him to learn. Roxy dismissed the idea instantly. Chloe nodded, dropping the subject. She had no idea that I was already a fully realized grandmaster, possessing internal energy so pure it defied modern logic. Just keep the marriage a secret, Chloe requested. My lips are sealed. I just want this 3-year nightmare to end quickly so you can divorce him in peace, Roxy muttered. He wears a mask because he's probably hideously ugly. Classical music is dead. Stop trying to revive a corpse. This elitist garbage has no place on a modern app. I scrolled through the comments on my Vibe profile. I had hit 4.5 million followers, but with the massive exposure came a wave of toxic haters. People really love hating things they don't understand. I frowned. I didn't care about their opinions on me, but attacking the art form itself annoyed me. Livestream tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I posted on my page, alongside 2 new video uploads. I hadn't planned to stream so soon, but recorded videos could be faked or edited. A live performance would shut the haters up instantly. I need a good location and proper attire, I thought. Broadcasting from the penthouse was too risky. What if Chloe's parents paid a surprise visit and saw me on camera? I'd be exposed immediately. I called Professor Harrison, and he helped me rent a stunning, acoustically perfect vintage music hall downtown for $2,000 for the morning. I also went to a high-end tailor and bought a stunning, classic Victorian-style concert tuxedo to match the vibe. By 8:30 a.m. the next day, I was sitting on a velvet stool in the middle of the breathtaking, mahogany-lined hall, my professional condenser mic set up perfectly. 5 million followers, I murmured, checking the dashboard. Let's see how this goes. In the Beverly Hills mansion, Arthur Montgomery tapped his cane impatiently against the floor. It's 8:58. Is he going to no-show? Arthur grumbled, staring at the massive 85-inch screen in his living room. Dad, he has 5 million followers. This is his debut stream. If he flakes, his career is over. He'll be here, Richard sighed, sitting next to him with his iPad ready. He better be. At exactly 9 a.m., the stream went live. The screen illuminated, showing me in my tailored tuxedo, sitting in the gorgeously lit vintage hall. The production value was instantly recognized as top tier. The viewer count skyrocketed from 0 to 100,000 in seconds. Welcome, everyone, to my first live stream, I said, my voice smooth and calm through the studio mics. If you have requests, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just play what I feel. Without waiting for a response, I raised the bow and began playing. The rich, vibrating melody of the violin filled the stream in flawless high definition. Incredible. Richard sat up straight. The audio was pristine, capturing every micro-expression in the music that the compressed phone videos missed. Holy crap, he sounds even better live. Who said he was faking it? Look at his finger work. The acoustics in that room are godly. The chat flew by so fast it was a literal blur of text. Brilliant. Absolute perfection. Arthur praised loudly over the music. Richard, what are you waiting for? Tip him. Don't wait until he stops playing. Right away, Dad, Richard sighed, opening his wallet on the app. He didn't have to tap $10 anymore. Live streams allowed for massive gifts. User Old Money Art has sent a galactic cruiser. User Old Money Art has sent a galactic cruiser. Massive, screen-shaking 3D animations of spaceships erupted on the screen. Each galactic cruiser cost $28,000. Whoa, a whale has entered the chat. 2 galactic cruisers in 30 seconds. That's $56,000. The chat went completely insane. The algorithm, detecting the massive influx of cash, pushed my stream to the #1 trending spot on the entire app. Millions more flooded in. Dad, that's your 100 grand, Richard said, having sent 4 cruisers. Now tip him from your own account, Arthur ordered, staring at the screen. Richard groaned, but he logged into his personal account and fired off 10 more galactic cruisers. He was worth over $10 billion himself. $280,000 was literal pocket change to him. The stream became a frenzy. Seeing the massive whale donations, thousands of regular viewers started spamming smaller tips. $5, $20, $100, it was raining money. I didn't acknowledge the tips. I didn't yell at people to subscribe or smash the like button. I just closed my eyes and played. 2 hours melted away. When I finally lowered my bow, I glanced at the tipping dashboard. The total revenue for the 2-hour stream was $2.4 million. Thank you all for the incredible support, I smiled into the camera. We're currently at 5.8 million followers. If we hit 6 million before the stream ends, I'll show you guys a special trick I've been working on. The chat erupted. Within exactly 2 minutes, the follower count ticked over to 6 million. Masked Maestro, your follower count just hit the goal. Show us the trick. Yeah, let's see this special talent. The live chat was scrolling at hyperspeed. There were over 1 million viewers currently watching the stream, and the engagement was absolutely off the charts. Countless digital gifts flooded the screen. While the vast majority were low-tier tips, there was a staggering amount of premium donations as well. The demographic that appreciated classical violin skewed older, meaning many of them had serious disposable income. Ordinary streamers rarely got them to open their wallets, but I was different. I was playing at a maestro level, and they felt my performance was worth every penny. They probably figured if they tipped enough, I'd stream more often. Even though I had only been uploading for a few days, my hardcore fans had already seen through my inherently lazy nature. One whale had practically funded a new house for me, yet I only bothered to go live today, and probably only because the haters were getting too loud. Thank you all, I chuckled into the mic, but I have a confession. The violin is really just a hobby of mine. I'm not a professional musician by trade. The fans went dead silent. The million viewers in the stream were collectively stunned. I was a top-tier maestro, and this was just a hobby. Bro, what does that even mean? Are you secretly a prodigy at something else? Is he about to pull out a different instrument? The chat exploded into a frenzy of speculation, scrolling so fast it was impossible to read individual comments. I smiled faintly. I won't be playing another instrument today. Instead, I'll show you guys a one-finger push-up. Feel free to try it at home if you think you're fit enough. A wave of disappointment washed over the viewers. A one-arm push-up was impressive, sure, but plenty of fitness influencers could do it. Compared to a Master-level violin performance, it hardly seemed like a special trick. Right as they started complaining, I dropped rigidly toward the floor. Just before my face hit the ground, I caught my entire body weight with my right hand. Then, under the shocked gaze of 1 million people, I lifted 4 of my fingers, supporting my entire body on absolutely nothing but my right index finger. Holy crap, am I seeing things? That's not a one-arm push-up, that's a one-finger push-up. How is that physically possible? The chat went nuclear, and the premium gifts started flying faster than the system could process them. 1, 2, 3. I counted smoothly as I executed the push-ups with flawless, rigid form. 19, 20. After the 20th rep, I pushed myself back up to my feet without breaking a sweat. Alright guys, just a quick 20 reps. I welcome anyone to stitch this and try it themselves, but please know your limits and don't snap your fingers. I laughed casually. I'm speechless. Are we supposed to challenge that? Bro, I can't even do 20 push-ups with both arms. Your name is Masked Maestro, but you're secretly Batman, aren't you? I checked the timer. Well everyone, we've hit the 2-hour mark, and I showed you the trick. It's time to say goodbye for now. Instantly, thousands of comments begged me to stay. Maestro, wait, I haven't finished sending my tips. Don't leave yet. Show us something else. The million-strong audience started throwing money at the screen in a desperate bid to keep me online. Many of them had tuned in just for the hype, but that physical stunt had genuinely blown their minds. I'll be streaming weekly. I'll bring you guys a different trick next time. See you next week at the same time, I promised, reaching forward and ending the broadcast. The screen cut to black. Yet, even with a black screen, the tips kept pouring in. Vibe's platform allowed a stream room to stay open for 10 minutes after the host disconnected. Sweet baby Jesus, I clicked my tongue in awe. My tip revenue meter was rapidly approaching $300,000. By the time the room completely closed, it would easily cross that threshold. With my agreed-upon split, I was walking away with $180,000 in pure cash. My future streams probably won't hit this high, but making this much in a single broadcast is insane, I thought, shaking my head. I had only been live for 2 hours. If I had dragged it out, I could have easily cracked $500,000. Ring, ring, my phone buzzed. It was Zach, my account manager from Vibe. Leo, congratulations. Your debut stream was a monumental success. Your audience's willingness to spend is off the charts. If you start doing brand sponsorships or e-commerce, your revenue will multiply instantly, Zach pitched enthusiastically the moment I answered. Zach, I appreciate it, but I'm going to pass on selling products, I replied firmly. Zach paused, completely caught off guard. Leo, product sales are guaranteed income. Relying strictly on tips will eventually see a massive drop-off, he warned gently. He knew my massive success today was partly due to Vibe artificially boosting my stream. If I didn't monetize via sales, the algorithm would eventually stop prioritizing me. I can't guarantee product quality, Zach. And honestly, I don't want to exhaust myself over a little extra cash, I answered. My goals were crystal clear, I just wanted enough money for comfortable living expenses. I'd let my billionaire wife worry about the heavy lifting. If I started a massive e-commerce operation, I'd be too busy working to spend time farming treasure chests from Chloe. And frankly, the superpowers from those chests were worth infinitely more than mere money. Alright then, Zach conceded without pushing further. He figured once my tip revenue naturally dipped, I'd change my tune. An influencer with my traffic could make a killing in sales. I'm dead. A one-finger push-up. Watch this. Hahaha, I just tagged every major fitness influencer on the app. I'm tagging the MMA fighters next. Out of the million viewers, thousands had screen-recorded the broadcast, and the clips were currently spreading across the internet like wildfire. While my violin skills were incredible, the physical stunt carried a massive viral shock factor. Within hours, the clips were trending on Twitter. Challenge. Can you do 21 finger push-ups? Violin Maestro debuts insane physical stunt on stream. Masked Maestro earns $300,000 in 2-hour debut. On the Vibe app, countless fitness bros attempted the challenge to ride the algorithm wave. Naturally, almost every single one of them failed miserably. Even a trained fighter like Roxy, whose external force was maximized, would find a single finger push-up incredibly difficult. Perhaps a veteran internal force martial artist could pull it off, but those masters were mostly elderly traditionalists who didn't use social media, let alone participate in internet trends. I closed the Vibe app, completely unaware that the viral spread was skyrocketing my follower count faster than my very first video. At this rate, breaking 10 million followers was just around the corner. Leo, I'd like to invite you to a private group chat. It's just a dozen or so of us, all professional maestros, Professor Harrison texted me. Professor, is that appropriate for me? I asked. Absolutely. You might be young, but your skill rivals even Oliver Stone, the president of the association, he replied, immediately sending me an invite link. I thought about it for a second and hit accept. These old masters had gone out of their way to support me, so the least I could do was show my respect. I was added to a group called Virtuosos. There were exactly 11 other members. I made 12. Welcome, Maestro Vance. Great to have you here, Leo. The moment I joined, the other 11 members immediately flooded the chat with greetings. They were all online, specifically waiting for me. It's an honor to meet you all. Thank you so much for your support over the last week. Please, just call me Leo, I quickly typed back. I couldn't be arrogant around these guys. Without my system cheat code, I wouldn't even be qualified to tune their instruments. Leo, you aren't even 35 yet, are you? Your performance today was flawless. The future of classical music rests on the shoulders of young talents like you, someone typed. Professor Harrison quickly sent a separate text. Leo, that's Oliver Stone. He's the president of the National Classical Music Association. I quickly replied in the group. President Stone, you're correct, I am under 35. However, for personal reasons, I must keep my exact age and identity a secret for now, but I promise to do my part for the culture. I spent the next 10 minutes chatting with the legends of the industry. They were endlessly curious about me, but I kept my cards close to my chest. Leo, just poke your head in the chat whenever you have free time. I'm just a university professor, but some of the men in that group wield massive influence. Having them as friends will open countless doors for you, Professor Harrison privately texted me. Thank you, Professor, I replied. Still, I had no intention of kissing up to anyone. I had the system, I didn't need to beg for favors. Ring, ring. Just as I was packing up my gear to head home, Chloe called. Leo, are you busy today? She asked. Not at all. I set my own hours. As long as I hit my sales quota, I'm free, and I already crushed my quota for the month, I replied. That wasn't a lie. With my $180,000 cut from the stream, my sales were looking fantastic. Could you accompany me to a business dinner tonight? The client is notoriously heavy drinker, Chloe explained. I usually bring Roxy as my muscle and designated drinker, but this guy can drink Roxy under the table. I smiled. No problem. Time and place. Come pick me up at the office around 5 p.m., she said. I hung up, quite pleased with the arrangement. Hanging out with Chloe meant more chances to spawn a treasure chest, and even a low-tier chest was worth millions. At 4:30 p.m., a knock echoed in Chloe's office. Boss, do you have someone going with you to the dinner tonight? If not, I can step in. I can hold my liquor, a well-dressed, 20-something man offered smoothly. As long as we keep George Mercer happy, Redwood Group will definitely greenlight our series of funding. The man was Greg Larson. He had invested $1 million during their pre-A round, securing a 10% stake and a cushy executive title in her startup. That won't be necessary, Chloe shook her head without looking up. My boyfriend is picking me up shortly. He'll be accompanying me. What? Greg's face instantly dropped. Chloe, since when do you have a boyfriend? How did I not know about this? Chloe frowned, her eyes icing over. Greg, keep it strictly business. I appreciate your capital investment, but my private life is absolutely none of your business. You can leave now. And please, call me Ms. Sterling. Chloe is highly inappropriate in the workplace. Greg's face flushed with anger and embarrassment as he retreated from the office. He hadn't invested $1 million because he believed in a cosmetics brand, he did it to buy proximity to Chloe. He figured working together would eventually lead to a romance. Damn it, when the hell did she get a boyfriend? Greg cursed internally. He had never seen her within 10 feet of a man. 10 minutes later, I called Chloe. Chloe, I'm here. Should I wait outside or come up? Chloe thought for a second. Come up to my office. It's time some people in this building realize I'm taken. I raised an eyebrow. Looks like she had an annoying suitor at work. Got it, I said, parking the X5. Chloe's startup was located in a sleek, 5-story building in Seattle's tech hub. Security had my name, so I walked straight in. Mr. Vance, the boss is on the 5th floor. Take the elevator right over there, the receptionist smiled politely. Thanks, I nodded. As I waited for the elevator, I heard whispers behind me. Who is that? He doesn't look like a client. Must be a friend of the boss. I reached the 5th floor, where a young woman was waiting. Mr. Vance, the CEO's office is this way, she guided me. Thanks, I said, stepping into the massive corner office. Nice setup you've got here, Chloe. Her startup was impressive. Owning a lease on a 5-story building in this district was no joke. We're only using a couple of floors right now, but we're leaving room for expansion. Give me 5 minutes to wrap this up, Chloe said, typing rapidly on her laptop. Lucy, you can leave us. Lucy, the assistant who had escorted me, quickly nodded and shut the door behind her. Down the hall, Greg watched me walk into the office, his blood boiling. That must be the boyfriend. He looks completely average. How the hell am I losing to him? Greg fumed. In terms of wealth, looks, and education, Greg felt he was vastly superior to the guy in the cheap suit. 5 minutes later, Chloe closed her laptop. Is it just the two of us? I asked. Yes, Chloe nodded. We're meeting George Mercer, the CEO of Redwood Group. He's looking to invest $5 million for a 20% stake, but we need to negotiate the exact equity. Chloe, your family is loaded. Why do you need outside funding? Why not just have your dad fully back you? I asked, genuinely curious. Every venture has risks, she smiled, grabbing her purse. Plus, taking on investors is about leverage. Redwood Group has a world-class manufacturing pipeline for high-end cosmetics. Their money comes with their infrastructure. Let's head out, I'll explain on the way. As she walked up to me, she naturally slipped her arm through mine. When we walked out of the office arm in arm, the entire floor went dead silent. Chloe was known for icing out billionaires and elite heirs, yet here she was, intimately holding on to a completely average-looking guy. No wonder she rejects everyone. She's taken, someone whispered as the elevator doors closed on us. But he looks so normal. She has high standards. He must have some hidden talent we don't know about, another replied, their gossip engines running at max capacity. By the window, Greg watched my X5 pull out of the parking lot. He punched the windowsill in pure frustration. If he had lost to a billionaire heir, he could have swallowed his pride, but losing to a nobody like me was infuriating. Chloe, I thought you'd have more guys trying to fight me in the lobby. Why didn't anyone say anything? I joked as I merged onto the highway. Chloe tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because they know my personality. If anyone caused a scene, they'd be fired by tomorrow morning. Savage, I gave her a thumbs up. She definitely had the authority to back it up. Even if a major investor threw a tantrum, she had the Sterling family's billions standing behind her. Does George Mercer know you're a Sterling? I asked. Of course. If he didn't, he wouldn't even consider this series a round. Redwood Group is worth $20 billion, and George's personal net worth is in the billions. He operates in a different sector, so he doesn't owe my family any favors, Chloe explained, turning to look at me. Leo, drinking is part of business. But don't worry, I never let myself get drunk, and I never go to these dinners alone, she reassured me. I nodded. Whenever you have something like this, just bring me. I might not know business, but when it comes to alcohol, I'm practically invincible. Chloe burst out laughing. Invincible, don't get arrogant and pass out tonight. George Mercer loves his liquor. He judges character based on how people handle their alcohol. A lot of his biggest deals are signed at the bottom of a bottle. I understood completely. When you're managing billions, reading people is a vital skill. Alcohol strips away inhibitions. It's a great way to see if a potential partner is a hidden liability. Are you drinking tonight? I asked. A little, but you're the main event. We'll get a designated driver to take us home, she said. Half an hour later, we arrived at a hyper-exclusive private dining club. The exterior looked like an unmarked brick building, but the ingredients inside were flown in daily, and the head chef was a former White House culinary director. Welcome, the hostess smiled, escorting us to a private room. The room was spacious, featuring a massive wall-to-wall wine cellar stocked with vintage bottles from around the world. Leo, order whatever you want to drink. It's going on the company card, Chloe whispered. I chuckled. If she wasn't expensing this, our entire monthly grocery budget would be wiped out in a single appetizer. Knock, knock. The door opened, and two men walked in. Ms. Sterling, apologies for the wait, the older man smiled. He was in his 50s, exuding an air of seasoned authority. I'm having my son shadow me on this project to gain some experience, and he held us up a bit. This was George Mercer, CEO of Redwood Group. Beside him stood a sharply dressed young man whose eyes immediately lit up the second he saw Chloe. Ms. Sterling. It's a pleasure, Jonathan Mercer said, extending his hand. Jonathan, apologies, but I have severe germophobia. I don't shake hands, Chloe lied smoothly with an apologetic smile. George, Jonathan, allow me to introduce my boyfriend, Leo Vance. I know you appreciate a good drink, George, so I brought Leo along. He has a legendary tolerance. Jonathan awkwardly pulled his hand back, his gaze shifting to me with thinly veiled disappointment. He had recently returned from overseas, planning to coast on his trust fund, but seeing Chloe had instantly motivated him, until she dropped the boyfriend bomb. George Mercer studied me carefully. Mr. Mercer, nice to meet you. I don't have many talents, but I can certainly hold my liquor. I hope to keep you good company tonight, I smiled confidently. George laughed heartily. You're too modest, Leo. Chloe's standards are famously sky-high. If you caught her eye, you must be a remarkable young man. Please, let's all sit. The food, which had been pre-ordered, began arriving in a stunning procession of culinary masterpieces. Chloe, I know you aren't fond of hard liquor, so I had Jonathan bring a special bottle of red just for you. Leo and I will stick to the strong stuff, George smiled warmly. Jonathan pulled a sleek bottle of red wine from his leather carrying case. Leo, since you're a drinking man, do you recognize this? Jonathan asked, a hint of provocation in his voice. Chloe frowned slightly. Leo was a farmer's son, he might be able to drink beer, but quizzing him on elite vintage wine was intentionally insulting. I glanced at the bottle and smiled casually. Ah, a Musigny Grand Cru from Domaine Jacques-Frédéric Mugnier. Current market value is roughly $10,000 a bottle. Impressive. You really know your stuff, Leo, George praised genuinely. Chloe looked at me in shock. She had no idea I knew anything about fine wine. Thank God for that black iron treasure chest, I thought to myself. The Grandmaster wine tasting skill essentially made me an encyclopedia for every alcoholic beverage ever created by mankind. George, Chloe mentioned you're offering $5 million for a 20% stake. I know you're a man who loves a good bet. How about a wager? I proposed smoothly. Chloe panicked internally. I was revealing her exact negotiation floor. Oh, what kind of wager? George asked, highly amused. A drinking contest. If you drink me under the table, Redwood gets 25%. If I win, Redwood only takes 15%. Deal? I challenged. George threw his head back and laughed. Leo, you're confident, I'll give you that. I've been drinking for 30 years. I'm game, but what does the boss say? He looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at me, took a deep breath, and nodded. Leo is my boyfriend. If he makes the bet, I stand by it. She was deeply nervous, but in this room, she had to show a united front. Then it's a bet. George grinned. He was certain he was going to win. $5 million for 25% was a steal. That extra 5% equity could be worth tens of millions in a few years. Jonathan, go to the trunk and grab the case of Macallan 25, George ordered. When $50 million valuations were on the line, he only drank the best. Thank you for your generosity, George, I smiled as Jonathan hauled the incredibly expensive scotch into the room. The case held 6 bottles of Macallan 25-year-old single malt scotch. The proof was high, and the flavor was dangerously smooth. For an average man, a single bottle would end in a trip to the emergency room. George, as the younger man, I have the advantage of youth. Let me pour the first glass as a toast, and we won't count it toward the bet, I offered, filling our massive tumbler glasses. Each glass held nearly a third of a bottle. I admire your grit, Leo, George nodded approvingly. In a contest between heavyweights, giving away a free glass was a massive handicap. George had no idea that to me, drinking this was literally indistinguishable from drinking tap water. To a prosperous partnership, I smiled, clinking my glass against his before downing the burning amber liquid in one uninterrupted gulp. Within 60 seconds, I had casually ingested nearly 10 ounces of hard liquor. Chloe clenched her napkin beneath the table, terrified I was going to poison myself. She wasn't worried about the equity, even a 5% loss was a drop in the bucket for her family, but she cared about my health. Ha ha ha, I haven't met a challenger like you in years, George roared, slamming his own empty glass down. Despite downing a massive amount of scotch, my complexion hadn't changed at all. What's your usual poison of choice, George? I asked, steering the conversation. I couldn't talk high-level corporate mergers, but thanks to my Grandmaster skill, I could talk about alcohol production, history, and tasting notes with the authority of a master sommelier. As the hour passed, George and I engaged in a deep, highly technical conversation about global spirits. Chloe watched in silent astonishment. My background check explicitly stated I was a broke farmer's son. Yet here I was, matching a billionaire CEO shot for shot while casually discussing the distillation process of obscure European liquors. I need to throw that background check in the trash, Chloe thought. Elite athletic stamina, insane alcohol tolerance, sommelier-level knowledge, what else is he hiding? Her curiosity about me was growing dangerously fast, though she stubbornly refused to let herself fall for me just yet. Leo, I rarely admit defeat, but I yield. George slurred heavily, his eyes unfocused. We had each finished 2 entire bottles of Macallan. He knew if he drank one more glass, he was going to end up in an ambulance. If you can finish 2 more glasses, you win. You did great, George, I smiled warmly, pouring 2 massive glasses and downing them back to back without flinching. That made 3 full bottles for me. A bet is a bet. 5 million. 15%, George swayed as he stood up, gripping the table for balance. Chloe, it's a pleasure doing business with you. The pleasure is mine, George, Chloe smiled, raising her glass of red wine. She hadn't touched Jonathan's $10,000 bottle, she ordered a glass from the restaurant instead. Leo, I'm going to embarrass myself if I stay any longer. Jonathan, get me to the car. We'll send the contracts over tomorrow, George mumbled as his son practically carried him out the door. Once they were gone, Chloe rushed to my side. Leo, are you okay? I'm perfectly fine, I replied, my voice completely steady. Let's go home. Chloe nodded, quickly paying the bill. The dinner cost more than most people made in 6 months. The restaurant provided an elite designated driver who safely navigated my X5 back to the penthouse. Leo, even though you won, please don't ever drink like that again. It's going to destroy your liver, Chloe scolded softly as she helped me through the front door. I smiled, staring intently at the top of her head. A bronze treasure chest was materializing. Tonight's drinking gauntlet had been completely worth it. Chloe, are you worried about me? I murmured. Give me a hug. I slowly opened my arms. Chloe stepped in and gave me a gentle, reassuring hug. Since we had embraced before, she didn't fight it. Ding! Bronze treasure chest opened. Congratulations, host. You have obtained Grandmaster-level cello skills. The system's voice echoed in my head, instantly followed by a torrential flood of musical theory, muscle memory, and decades of phantom practice. My head spun violently from the sheer volume of data. Chloe, the alcohol is hitting me. I need to sleep, I said, quickly pulling away from the hug. Wait, take these water bottles. You'll wake up dehydrated, she said, hastily shoving 2 bottles into my hands. Thanks, I mumbled, swaying slightly as I locked my bedroom door. 3 bottles of scotch meant absolutely nothing to me, but the mental strain of downloading Grandmaster cello skills was agonizing. I collapsed onto the floor, sitting cross-legged, and instantly triggered my Leviathan breathing technique. As my internal energy cycled, it rapidly incinerated the alcohol in my bloodstream, converting it into raw fuel that slightly accelerated my cultivation. As the minutes passed, the headache faded, and I fully integrated the cello mastery. Absolute peak grandmaster, I realized in awe. There were perhaps a dozen Master-level violinists in the country, but a true grandmaster, someone who reached the absolute pinnacle of an instrument, you might not see one born in 100 years. First violin, now cello. Is the system trying to turn me into a one-man classical orchestra? I wondered. Honestly, I didn't mind. Elevating classical arts while getting ridiculously rich sounded like a great side hustle. Around 1 a.m., I finished 3 full cultivation cycles and took a shower. Knock, knock. Chloe hadn't been able to sleep, worried I was suffering from alcohol poisoning. Chloe, want to sleep in here tonight? I joked as I opened the door. Her face flushed bright red. In your dreams. I just wanted to make sure you weren't dead. I didn't want to explain to your parents why you died of alcohol poisoning on my watch. I'm perfectly fine, see? My metabolism is superhuman. I'm completely sober. Good night, I smiled. Chloe quickly retreated to her room, relieved. I watched her walk away with a satisfied grin. She was wearing a thin silk nightgown, and clearly wasn't wearing a bra. Based on my highly scientific visual assessment, she was a very solid C cup, bordering on a D cup. Perfect, I nodded to myself. Morning, Chloe, I smiled, stepping out of my room the next day. Leo, are you sure you're okay? My dad always has a splitting migraine the day after a dinner like that, Chloe asked, eyeing me suspiciously. I feel great. Honestly, I could go for another bottle, I laughed. You're insane, she rolled her eyes. But seriously, drink less. It ruins your body over time. I hear you. When we're ready to start trying for kids, I promise I'll go completely sober for 6 months prior, I teased. She shot me a devastatingly gorgeous glare. By the way, thank you for last night. I was expecting to land at 20% equity. Securing 15% saved the company a massive amount of leverage, Chloe said sincerely. Don't worry about it, just glad I could help, I smiled. If you're confident, you can make the call. I hate men who are timid, she admitted. But if you don't know what you're doing, be careful. I don't want my parents finding an excuse to force a divorce before the 3 years are up. Understood, I nodded. Are you making pancakes? Yeah, sit down, she smiled. After breakfast, Chloe headed to the office to finalize the Redwood Group contracts. I should go buy a cello, I thought to myself. Having Grandmaster skills made my fingers itch to play, but checking my bank account quickly killed the mood. Between buying the X5, renting the downtown studio, and upgrading my gear, I only had a few $1,000s left to cover our living expenses. Wait, let me check my follower count, I remembered, opening the Vibe app. I had gone straight to bed after the stream yesterday. What the? I stared blankly at the screen. Yesterday, I had roughly 6 million followers. Today, my profile showed 10.5 million followers. I had gained over 4 million followers overnight. How? I dug into the analytics and quickly found the source. My one-finger push-up had gone incredibly viral. Classical violin was a niche market with a hard ceiling, but insane fitness stunts appealed to literally everyone. I'm an A-list influencer now, I muttered, stunned. I scrolled through my comments. Maestro, you said violin is just a hobby, but all your videos are violin covers. Show us the push-ups. The push-up was faked. He used his thumb, not his index finger, and he was probably leaning against a wall, not the floor. Thousands of comments were demanding a dedicated push-up video, while skeptics tried to debunk the stunt. I searched the app, a few elite athletes had managed to do 3 or 4 reps, but no one came close to 20. The algorithm is hungry for this. If I post a video, Vibe will push it to the moon, I realized. I drove to my rented antique studio, threw on my Victorian tuxedo, and strapped on my mask. Hey everyone. Some people claim my push-up was faked. They said I was leaning on a wall, or my shoes had a wire rig. I spoke to the camera, using my aura to drop my voice into an unrecognizable, gravelly baritone. I poured a glass of water onto the floor, letting it pool. Gravity check. This is the floor. I kicked off my shoes, standing barefoot. No wires. Today, let's just do a casual 100 reps. I dropped to the floor and reeled off 100 flawless, piston-like one-finger push-ups in under 2 minutes. I clipped the video and hit upload. At Vibe HQ, alarms essentially went off. Boss, the masked maestro just uploaded the push-up video. Zach yelled. Frank Peterson, the director of operations, rushed over with the rest of the team to watch the raw footage. Is he even human? It's real. He's a legitimate martial arts freak. I tried that yesterday and almost broke my wrist just holding the plank position. Push this to the absolute top of the trending page. Right now, Frank ordered, sprinting to the executive floor. Frank showed the video to his superiors. He's a top-tier maestro and a physical anomaly. He has the potential to be the biggest creator on the platform. We cannot let a rival app poach him. But he refused our standard contract, an executive noted. Frank paced the room. We offer him the SS-tier contract. 0 streaming quotas, maximum freedom, highest revenue split. If we don't cage him, he'll leave. The executives debated for a moment before nodding. Approved. Go to Seattle and secure him. Verify his physical strength in person if you can. Frank immediately called Zach. Pack a bag. We're flying to Seattle right now. We got the SS-tier approval. Zach gasped. The SS-tier contract was an industry secret, exclusively reserved for A-list Hollywood celebrities. Offering it to a faceless internet streamer was unprecedented. Should I really go alone with a contract this big? Zach hesitated. Book 2 tickets. I'm coming with you, Frank decided. Where are the haters now? The maestro just slapped you in the face. 100 reps on one finger. I bow to the king. Tipped $50. Please stream again soon. With Vibe artificially boosting the video on top of my massive 10 million follower base, the likes and comments exploded. Within an hour, it dominated the trending charts on Twitter. The skeptics were completely silenced. The puddle of water proved the orientation of the camera, and my bare feet proved there were no hidden wires. Roxy watched the video from her gym, her jaw on the floor. She had tried the challenge yesterday. She managed 4 reps before her finger felt like it was going to snap. Even her grandfather, a legendary internal force master, would struggle to do 100 consecutive reps at that speed. She immediately hit the follow button and texted the link to Chloe. Chloe, look at this. With your looks and status, you could date a guy like the masked maestro. His martial arts are terrifyingly good. Roxy texted. He's probably 40 years old and married. Martial arts keeps you looking young, Chloe texted back. I finished my paperwork, I'm coming to the gym to train with you. 15 million followers, I whistled, checking the app. Gaining 10 million followers in a single week was a statistical anomaly. And these weren't bot accounts, they were hyperactive, highly engaged fans. Ring, ring. Hey Zach, what's the good news? I answered. Leo, I'm currently in Seattle. The director of operations, Frank Peterson, flew out with me, Zach said breathlessly. We brought you an SS tier contract. It has almost zero obligations, and massive benefits. SS tier? I raised an eyebrow. It's a shadow contract. We only offer it to A-list movie stars. Even the biggest streamers on the app only have S-tier contracts, Zach explained eagerly. I'm flattered, but am I really worth that much to you guys? I asked. The executives believe you haven't even scratched the surface of your potential, Zach replied. Where are you? Can we meet? Since they flew all the way here with an elite contract, the least I could do was hear them out. I texted them the address to my rented studio. Half an hour later, Frank and Zach arrived at the antique tea shop I was using as a backdrop. Leo, it's an honor. You're incredibly young, Frank said, shaking my hand warmly. Nice to meet you, Frank, I smiled, gesturing for them to sit at the massive, solid oak tea-tasting desk. I poured them both a cup of high-end tea left behind by the previous tenant. Leo, is this where you film? Do you mind showing us a trick in person? Frank asked politely. He needed to verify I wasn't using CGI before handing over a blank check. Let me read the contract first. If I don't like the terms, there's no point in putting on a show, right? I laughed. Fair enough, Frank handed me the heavy folder. With my enhanced Grandmaster cognition, I scanned the pages instantly. The terms were ridiculously generous. Guaranteed monthly traffic boosts, algorithmic priority, and a 70% cut of all tip revenue, which was insane considering Vibe covered the server costs and app store taxes. At 70%, Vibe was likely taking a loss on my tips just to keep my traffic exclusively on their platform. I don't see a single reason to refuse this, I smiled, closing the folder. Excellent, Frank beamed. Zach mentioned you guys wanted to see a magic trick. I asked, pressing my right index finger onto the solid oak desk. With a sickening crunch, my finger sank half an inch deep into the solid hardwood. Frank and Zach's eyes bulged out of their skulls. Oak was incredibly dense. It would take thousands of pounds of hydraulic pressure to dent it like that. Go ahead, feel it, I offered. Frank reached out and rubbed the deep indentation. He pressed his own thumb against the wood with all his might, but couldn't even leave a scratch. Zach grabbed the edge of the desk and pulled upward, trying to lift it. The desk weighed easily over 400 pounds. It didn't budge a millimeter. I smiled, slipping one hand under the edge of the desk. Up, I whispered, lifting the massive 400-pound oak table into the air with a single hand as effortlessly as lifting a coffee cup. Frank and Zach sat frozen in absolute, paralyzed terror. So, do I still need to do the push-ups? I chuckled, setting the desk down gently. Both men shook their heads violently. Leo, let's talk about your signing bonus, Frank stammered, wiping sweat from his forehead. You can take it in guaranteed algorithmic traffic, or raw cash. Refusing to sell products limits your cash value slightly, unfortunately. I'll take the cash. How much? I asked. Because you want total creative freedom. I can authorize a maximum of $1.5 million right now, Frank said nervously. I froze. $1.5 million. In cash, just for signing a piece of paper. Frank misinterpreted my silence. Leo, I know it seems low, but if you agree to a few mandatory streaming hours, I can call corporate and beg for $5 million. I stared at Frank. Low. I thought it was an astronomical amount. At my old corporate job, it would have taken me 300 years to earn $1.5 million. Frank, you misunderstand. I don't think it's low at all. I'm just surprised it's that high, I laughed. Both executives let out a massive sigh of relief. They had flown across the country. If they blew the deal now, they'd be the laughingstock of the corporate office, and a rival app would snatch me up in seconds. I don't want any quotas. I'll take the $1.5 million and the creative freedom, I confirmed. Let's sign, Frank said eagerly, pulling out a pen and handwriting the bonus amendment into the contract. A pleasure doing business with you, I smiled, shaking their hands. Let me buy you guys lunch before your flight. 30 minutes later, as we were finishing our steaks, my phone chimed. That should be your wire transfer. Just a heads up, the IRS takes a massive bite out of bonuses like this, Frank warned. I opened my banking app. The $1.5 million bonus had cleared, but after federal and state taxes were automatically withheld, the deposit was exactly $825,000. Still a massive payout. I'm happy, I smiled. Paying taxes was part of life. I wasn't going to risk a federal audit just to hide a few $100,000. Besides, with a billionaire wife, money was basically a side quest. Any chest I farmed off Chloe was worth 50 times this amount. After lunch, I dropped Frank and Zach off at the airport. In the terminal, Frank looked at Zach. Thoughts? He's a literal superhero, Zach said, still shaken. The dent in that oak table. Signing him is like signing a maestro and an Olympic superhero at the same time. His traffic is going to easily clear 30 million followers. Frank nodded. Martial arts appeals to a massive demographic, and anchoring it with traditional classical music keeps his brand prestigious. We struck gold. If the internet finds out he's a 23-year-old stud instead of an old man, the female demographic will break our servers, Zach laughed. Too bad he wants to stay masked. Secrets always leak eventually. When he's finally unmasked, the internet is going to explode, Frank smiled confidently. I walked into an elite orchestral supply shop. Do you have anything better? I asked the owner, my mask and hat pulled low. The cello in front of me was priced at $10,000, but the resonance felt hollow to my Grandmaster ears. Sir, this is a professional-grade instrument. 99% of cellists would kill for this. Anything higher is just paying for the brand name, the owner argued. I need better, I insisted. The owner sighed. Fine. I have a masterpiece in my private collection. I bought it 5 years ago at an auction for $100,000. I hit a rough patch financially, so I'm willing to part with it for $120,000. Let me see it. My eyes lit up. He brought me upstairs and carefully opened a velvet-lined case. The cello inside was breathtaking, carved from centuries-old wood with flawless varnish. I sat down and plucked the strings. The tone was devastatingly rich. It's a masterpiece, I nodded after a 5-minute inspection. But you got ripped off at the auction. It's worth exactly $100,000 today. 5 years ago, it was worth maybe 70. The owner smiled bitterly. You know your stuff. An appraiser told me the exact same thing 2 years ago. Fine, $100,000 and it's yours. I wired him the money instantly. I rushed back to my studio, pulled out the cello, and played Bach's Cello Suite No. 1. When I finished, I sat in silence, moved by my own music. I'm too good, I realized. If I upload this at full Grandmaster level, my identity will be exposed instantly by acoustic analysts. I decided to deliberately hold back, playing with just enough technical flaws to simulate a top-tier maestro rather than an omnipotent god of music. Even suppressed, my playing was heartbreakingly beautiful. Here is Bach's Cello Suite No. 1. Enjoy, I captioned the video. I recorded a second video featuring a highly complex, modern cello sonata, clipped them both, and hit upload. With 11 million active followers, the notifications went out instantly. Wait, cello, where's the violin? Why is he playing a cello now? Holy crap. His cello is just as good as his violin. The comments section lost its collective mind. Dedicating a lifetime to mastering one instrument was an incredible feat. Mastering two completely different instruments to a maestro level was a generational anomaly. Combined with his superhuman physical strength, the masked maestro was officially a cryptid. In the Virtuosos group chat, my phone buzzed. Guys, go watch Leo's new upload. Is he a cello maestro too? Someone typed. What? That's impossible. Let me call Laura, she's the chair of the Cello Association, another maestro replied. In Los Angeles, Laura Mitchell, a legendary cellist, hung up the phone and opened the Vibe app. There's no way, she muttered. 10 minutes later, Laura sat in her living room, her hands trembling. She couldn't believe her ears. The recording was compressed through an iPhone, yet the emotional depth and flawless bowing technique eclipsed her own. He's a violin maestro and a cello maestro. This is impossible, Laura whispered to herself. She immediately called her colleague back. It's true. He's a cello maestro, and he's significantly better than I am. The news hit the group chat like a bomb. Professor Harrison immediately texted me privately. Leo, Are you a cello maestro too? No, Professor, I replied honestly. Don't lie to me. Laura Mitchell just confirmed you're better than her. Harrison scolded. Professor, you misunderstand. I meant I'm not a maestro. I'm actually much better than that, but I held back so I didn't scare anyone. Please keep that a secret, I texted back. Professor Harrison stared at his phone, his heart palpitating. Better than a maestro? That means Grandmaster, a 23-year-old Grandmaster. He gasped, feeling like his entire life's work was insignificant. Keep hiding your true skill, Leo. The industry is vicious. Protect yourself until you have undeniable leverage, Harrison advised wisely. At the airport, Frank and Zach had just landed back in HQ. Zach's phone rang.